A bookmark fell out. My address was written on it. My hands froze mid-motion, the leather bookmark dangling between my trembling fingers. The ornate script was unmistakable, written in dark ink that had bled slightly into the expensive material. My exact address, apartment number included. The book it had fallen from a rare Italian edition of Dante's Inferno lay open on the returns cart, its aged pages releasing the scent of old paper and something else. Something expensive. Cologne, maybe? The kind that lingered in the air long after someone left. I looked around the library. Empty, the fluorescent lights hummed their usual electric song, casting long shadows between the towering shelves. It was nearly midnight on a Tuesday, my usual closing shift at the Chicago Public Library's downtown branch. Outside, October rain hammered against the tall windows, creating rivers down the glass that distorted the city lights beyond. My heart hammered against my ribs. Someone had been here. Someone who knew where I lived. Someone who had deliberately left this message for me to find. The leather was warm in my palm, as if it had been held recently. I turned it over. On the reverse side, embossed in gold, Salvatore. You found my bookmark, Tesoro. The voice came from behind me, deep and smooth like aged whiskey, carrying the unmistakable lilt of an Italian accent. I spun around so fast the bookmark slipped from my fingers, fluttering to the floor between us. He stood in the shadows between the classical literature section and the poetry stacks, a silhouette that somehow managed to command the entire space. Tall over 6 feet easily with shoulders that filled out an obviously expensive black suit. The dim library lighting caught the sharp line of his jaw, the curve of his lips as they tilted into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Che convenient," he continued, stepping forward into the light. "Now I know exactly where to behave." My breath caught. He was devastatingly handsome in a way that felt dangerous. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and perfect symmetry. But it was his eyes that held me frozen. Deep brown, nearly black in this lighting, and intense in a way that made me feel like he could see straight through every defense I'd ever built. "Who are you?" My voice came out steadier than I expected, and I was grateful for that. Years of dealing with difficult patrons had taught me how to mask fear with professional composure. "And why do you have my address?" He bent down, picking up the bookmark with fingers that moved with practiced grace. Long fingers, no wedding ring. But there was a signet ring on his right hand gold, with what looked like a family crest. "Mi chiamo Dante," he said, straightening to his full height. He was even more imposing up close. "Dante Salvatore. And as for your address..." He held up the bookmark, examining it as if seeing it for the first time. "I've been doing my research, Claire Bennett." Ice water flooded my veins. He knew my name. "Research?" I took a step back, my hip hitting the returns cart. The wheels squeaked in protest. "That's called stalking." "I should call the police." "You should," he agreed, but made no move to leave. Instead, he closed the distance between us with 2 measured steps. Not threatening, exactly, but deliberate, controlled. "But you won't, and why wouldn't I?" My hand moved toward my pocket where my phone waited. "Because you want to know why first." His eyes held mine, and I hated that he was right. "You're curious. It's in your nature. You wouldn't be a librarian if you didn't crave answers to questions." The rain intensified outside, thunder rumbling in the distance. The library felt smaller suddenly, more intimate. Too intimate. "I saw you 3 weeks ago," Dante continued, his voice dropping lower. "It was raining then, too. You were leaving work, walking to that old Honda Civic you drive. There was a man homeless, I think being harassed by 2 kids outside. They were young, stupid, thinking they were tough. I remembered that night. The memory made my stomach clench. You didn't hesitate, he said, and something like admiration flickered across his features. You put yourself between him and them. A woman barely 5'5", protecting a stranger from 2 men twice your size. You weren't even armed, just fearless. I wasn't fearless, I whispered, remembering how my hands had shaken, how my voice had cracked when I told them to leave him alone. I was terrified. Courage isn't the absence of fear, tesoro. It's acting despite it. He took another step closer. I could smell his cologne, now sandalwood, and something darker, more complex. I've been surrounded by violence my entire life. By men who claim to be brave because they carry guns and make threats. But you? His gaze traveled over my face like a physical touch. "You're the bravest person I've seen in years. That doesn't explain why you're stalking me." But my voice had lost some of its edge. Against my better judgment, I was listening, wanting to hear more, not stalking, protecting. From what? From the world I inhabit. He said it simply, as if it explained everything. As if it made perfect sense that a stranger would decide to appoint himself my guardian. I shook my head, trying to clear the fog that seemed to be settling over my thoughts. This man Dante Salvatore was too much. Too intense, too sure of himself, too everything. My life was carefully ordered, predictable. I woke up at 6, went to the gym, got Lily ready for school, worked at the library, came home, made dinner, helped with homework, and went to bed. Repeat. Safe, controlled. This man represented chaos. "I don't need protection," I said firmly. "I need you to leave now, or I really will call the police." For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Disappointment? Respect? I couldn't tell. "Vi bene," he said softly. "I'll go." But first, he reached into his jacket pocket and every muscle in my body tensed. But he only pulled out a card plain black with a single phone number embossed in gold. No name, no address, just numbers. He placed it on the returns cart between us, his fingers lingering for just a moment before he withdrew. "When you need me, tesoro, and you will need me, call this number, day or night. I'll answer, always." "I won't need you," I said, but even as the words left my mouth, they felt hollow. His smile turned sad. "I hope you're right, truly I do. Because needing me means you're in danger. And I would give anything to keep you safe from the things that lurk in my world." He stepped back, moving toward the main doors with the same fluid grace he'd shown since appearing. At the threshold, he paused, turning back to look at me one more time. "The book," he said, nodding toward the Dante's Inferno on my cart. "Keep it, consider it a gift. Though I hope the symbolism isn't too on the nose." That almost smile again. Some of us are trapped in our own circles of hell, Claire. Some of us have been there so long we forget what paradise looks like. Until someone reminds us. Then he was gone, disappearing into the rainy Chicago night before I could form a response. I stood there for a long moment, listening to my heartbeat slow, to the rain against the windows, to the silence of the empty library. Finally, I looked down at the card he'd left. The gold numbers seemed to gleam in the fluorescent light, taunting me, tempting me. I picked it up. The cardstock was heavy, expensive, the kind of quality that spoke of old money and older power. I should throw it away. I should report him. I should forget this entire strange encounter and go back to my safe, predictable life. Instead, I slipped the card into my pocket next to my phone. Then I picked up the copy of Dante's Inferno, running my fingers over the worn leather cover. Inside the front cover, I found an inscription in the same elegant script that had written my address. "Abandon all hope, the who enter here." But perhaps, tesoro, hope is what we find in the most unexpected places. D.S. My hands were shaking again as I closed the book. I had the terrible, inescapable feeling that my carefully ordered life had just been irrevocably altered. That this was the moment everything changed. The before and after that would define the rest of my existence. The rain continued to fall. And somewhere in the darkness of Chicago, Dante Salvatore was thinking about me. Just as I was, against all reason and self-preservation, thinking about him. I locked up the library at 12:47 a.m., 17 minutes later than usual. My hands fumbled with the keys, an old set of brass that had been used to secure these doors for probably 50 years. The rain had softened to a persistent drizzle, coating everything in a fine mist that reflected the streetlights like scattered diamonds. My Honda Civic sat in its usual spot, 3 rows back in the employee lot. As I approached, I noticed something immediately different. The passenger side mirror, the one that had been hanging by duct tape and prayer for the last 6 months, was fixed. Not just fixed, replaced, new. The glass gleamed without a single scratch, the housing perfectly aligned with the door. I stopped walking, my sneakers squeaking on the wet pavement. No, this was coincidence. Had to be. Maybe the library maintenance staff had taken pity on me. Maybe there was some program I didn't know about. But as I circled the car, I noticed more. The driver's side door, which had always stuck, opened smoothly on the first try. The interior light that had been burnt out for months flickered on, bright and new. And when I slid into the driver's seat, the check engine light, my constant companion for the better part of a year, was dark. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I jumped, nearly dropping it as I pulled it out. Unknown number. My thumb hovered over the decline button. But curiosity, that same damned curiosity Dante had identified so accurately, may answer. Hello? The car was unsafe to Soro. His voice filled my ear, warm and close despite the physical distance between us. Your mechanic said the brakes were nearly gone. The transmission was failing. You would have broken down within the week, possibly on the expressway, possibly with your sister in the car. I looked around the parking lot, searching the shadows. Are you watching me right now? Always. One word. It should have terrified me. It should have sent me running to the nearest police station. Instead, a complicated knot of emotions twisted in my chest. Fear, yes, but also something else. Something warm and forbidden that I refused to examine too closely. You can't just fix my car without permission, I said, trying to inject authority into my voice. That's necessary. And before you argue, the bill has been paid. Consider it thanks for that night. For what you did for that man outside the library. I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because it was right. I know. The smile was audible in his voice. That's precisely why you're so dangerous. Dangerous? I laughed, but it came out shaky. I'm a librarian. Exactly. You see the world as it should be, not as it is. You believe in goodness and justice and protecting those who can't protect themselves. In my world, that kind of purity, he paused and I heard him take a breath. It's the most dangerous thing of all. Because it makes men like me want to be better. And men like me can't afford to be better. We can only afford to be what we are. And what are you, Dante Salvatore? The silence stretched between us, filled only by the sound of rain and my own breathing. Drive home safely, Claire, he said finally, evading the question. Lock your doors. Set your alarm. And keep that card close. Wait, but the line was already dead. I sat in my newly repaired car, staring at my phone, at the unknown number already fading from the screen. Every logical part of my brain screamed at me to call the police, to file a report, to document everything that had happened tonight. Instead, I started the car. The engine actually purred something it had never done in the 3 years I'd owned it. The dashboard lights glowed softly, all greens and blues, not a single warning indicator in sight. The drive home took 15 minutes. I lived in a modest apartment building in Lincoln Park, a 2-bedroom on the 4th floor that I shared with Lily. It wasn't much worn carpets, outdated appliances, a radiator that clanked like a dying ghost, but it was ours. Paid for with late-night shifts and careful budgeting and the small life insurance policy our parents had left behind. I parked in the underground garage, taking my usual spot near the elevator. The fluorescent lights flickered as I walked, my footsteps echoing off concrete walls. Normally, this walk made me nervous. The garage was poorly lit, isolated, the kind of place where bad things could happen. Tonight, I felt eyes on me. But not threatening eyes, protective ones. I made it to the elevator without incident. Pressed the button for the 4th floor. Watched the numbers climb. The hallway was quiet when I emerged. Mrs. Chan's apartment was dark. She went to bed at 9 every night without fail. The Kowalskis were probably still awake, but they kept their television low. At the end of the hall, my door waited, painted the same industrial beige as every other door in the building. I unlocked it quietly, not wanting to wake Lily. She had school in the morning, an algebra test she'd been stressing about all week. The apartment was dark except for the kitchen light I always left on. I set my bag on the counter, kicked off my wet sneakers, and moved through the familiar space toward Lily's room. Her door was cracked open. She never could sleep with it completely closed, not since our parents died. I peeked inside. She was curled under her blankets, her dark hair spread across the pillow, one arm wrapped around the stuffed elephant our mom had given her for her 10th birthday. Peaceful, safe. Completely unaware that her older sister was currently being stalked by a mysterious Italian man who fixed cars and quoted, Dante. I pulled her door mostly closed and retreated to my own room. It was small, barely enough space for a bed, a dresser, and the overstuffed bookshelf that dominated one wall. Books had always been my escape, romance novels mostly. The kind where dangerous men fell for ordinary women, and somehow, against all odds, it worked out. Real life wasn't like that. Real life was messy and complicated, and dangerous men stayed dangerous. I changed into pajamas, brushed my teeth, went through all the motions of my nightly routine. But my mind was elsewhere, on dark eyes and an Italian accent. On a bookmark with my address, on the feeling of being watched, protected, claimed. I climbed into bed and pulled out my phone. The black card sat on my nightstand, the gold numbers gleaming in the darkness. I shouldn't save the number. I should delete any record of tonight. Move on. Forget. But even as I thought it, my fingers were typing the number into my contacts. I paused at the name field. What do you call a stalker? A protector? A man who appeared from shadows and disappeared into them just as quickly? I typed, Dante, then I turned off my phone and tried to sleep. I dreamed of libraries burning, of running through endless stacks while smoke filled my lungs. I dreamed of hands reaching for me in the darkness, of voices calling my name. I dreamed of a man with dark eyes who stood between me and the flames, his body a shield, his voice a promise. I'll keep you safe. I woke at 6 a.m. to my alarm, unrested and unsettled. The next 3 days passed in a strange haze of normalcy. I went to work, came home, took care of Lily, did all the ordinary things that made up my carefully structured life. But underneath it all, I felt the change. Felt the weight of eyes watching me, though I never saw anyone. Small things kept happening. Unexplainable things. The grocery store where I shopped suddenly had all of Lily's favorite cereals in stock, including the one that was usually sold out. The elderly woman who lived in the apartment next to ours mentioned that such a nice young man had helped her carry her groceries up the stairs. My student loans, which I'd been making minimum payments on for years, suddenly showed a payment of $5,000 from an anonymous donor. I started seeing them too. The men in dark suits. They were obvious about it, casual glances in coffee shops, a figure standing on the street corner when I left for work, a car that seemed to appear whenever I drove anywhere. Protection. That's what Dante had called it. It felt like a cage made of silk and good intentions. On the 4th night after our encounter, I worked my usual late shift at the library. It was a quiet Thursday, only a handful of patrons trickling in throughout the evening. College students cramming for midterms, a few regulars who came for the free Wi-Fi, an elderly man who always sat in the same chair reading newspapers. At 10:47 p.m., just over an hour before closing, 3 men walked in. I noticed them immediately. You develop an instinct for trouble when you work nights in a public library. These men had it written all over them, aggressive postures, roaming eyes, the kind of restless energy that preceded violence. They weren't here for books. I was behind the main desk, finishing up some cataloging work. They spread out, pretending to browse, but I could feel them watching me, waiting for the other patrons to leave. My hand moved slowly toward the phone. We had a direct line to security, but security was just Mike, a 60-year-old former cop with a bad hip who mostly dealt with homeless people sleeping in the stairwells. By 11:30, the last patron had left. Just me and the 3 men, and the silence. One of them, tall, with a shaved head and tattoos creeping up his neck, started walking toward the main desk. The other 2 fanned out, blocking the exits. We're closing soon, I said, proud of how steady my voice sounded. You'll need to finish up whatever you're looking for. Oh, we found what we're looking for. The bald man smiled, revealing a gold tooth. You're Claire Bennett, right? Work here 5 nights a week, close up alone, walk to your car in the parking lot? My heart slammed against my ribs. If you need help finding a book, I can assist you. Otherwise, you need to leave. Here's the thing, sweetheart. He leaned on the desk, bringing his face closer to mine. His breath smelled like cigarettes and something sour. We have a mutual acquaintance. He wants to meet you. Have a conversation. Nothing scary, just a conversation. I don't know who you're talking about. My hand was on the phone now, finger on the security button. Don't. His hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. His grip was iron strong, painful. Don't make this difficult. Just come with us quietly, and nobody gets hurt. Let go of me. I tried to pull away, but he held firm. Or what? You gonna scream? Building's empty, sweetheart. Just you and us, and he didn't finish the sentence. The lights went out, all of them. Every fluorescent fixture in the entire library died simultaneously, plunging us into complete darkness. The only illumination came from the emergency exit signs, casting everything in an eerie red glow. The man released my wrist. I heard movement, confused voices, the sound of someone stumbling into a bookshelf. Then I heard something else. Something that made my blood run cold. The wet sound of impact, a choked gasp, a body hitting the floor. What the fuck? One of the other men started to speak, but his words cut off in a strangled sound. I crouched behind the desk, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. The sounds continued, more impacts, more bodies falling, the crash of furniture being knocked aside. And through it all, a presence, fluid, deadly, moving through the darkness like a predator who owned it. It lasted maybe 30 seconds. 30 seconds of violence and chaos in the dark. Then the lights flickered back on. The 3 men were on the floor, unconscious or dead, I couldn't tell which. Blood pooled beneath the bald one's head. Another one's arm was bent at an impossible angle. The third was curled in a fetal position, whimpering. And standing in the center of it all, barely breathing hard, was Dante. His suit was still immaculate, not a hair out of place. But his eyes, those dark, intense eyes, burned with something primal and terrifying. He looked at me and his expression softened immediately. "Tesoro," he said gently, as if he hadn't just taken down 3 armed men in the dark. "Are you hurt?" I couldn't speak, couldn't move. My body had locked up, shock and adrenaline warring inside me. He stepped over one of the bodies and came around the desk, slowly giving me time to adjust, to process. When he reached me, he crouched down to my level, his hands raised, palms out. "Claire, look at me. Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" "My wrist," I whispered. He grabbed my wrist. Fury flashed across his face, so intense I flinched. He took a breath, visibly controlling himself, then gently took my hand. His touch was careful, reverent, completely at odds with the violence he'd just displayed. "Bastardo," he muttered, examining the red marks blooming on my skin. Then he looked at me and his voice dropped to something almost tender. "I'm sorry. I should have anticipated this, should have had more men watching you. This is my fault." "What?" My voice cracked. I tried again. "What's happening? Who were they? Why did they want me?" Dante's jaw tightened. "They were sent by someone who wants to get to me. You were going to be leverage. A way to control me. Why would anyone think I could control you? I don't even know you." "Because," he said softly, his thumb brushing across my knuckles, "I made the mistake of looking at you like you mattered. And in my world, anything that matters becomes a target." Behind us, one of the men groaned. Dante's head snapped toward the sound, his entire demeanor shifting. The gentleman holding my hand vanished, replaced by something cold and lethal. "Stay here," he ordered, his voice hard. He stood, moving toward the conscious man with predatory grace. "Dante, don't watch Tesoro." It was a command. "Please, don't watch this." But I did watch as he hauled the man up by his collar, whispered something in Italian that made the man's face go white with terror, then dropped him back to the floor. The man scrambled toward the exit, dragging himself with his good arm, desperate to escape. Dante let him go. Then he pulled out his phone, made a call, and spoke rapid Italian to whoever answered. I caught a few words: Piliri, hospital, nessun testimone, clean, hospital, no witnesses. When he ended the call, he turned back to me. The hard mask fell away again, revealing the man underneath. The man who looked at me like I was something precious and breakable. "I need to get you out of here," he said. "My people will clean this up. It will look like these men broke in, fought each other, and left. You were never here, understand? I can't just..." "Claire," he said my name like a prayer. "You are in danger now. Real danger because of me. Because I was selfish enough to want to know you, to watch you, to..." He stopped himself, shaking his head. "I can explain everything, but not here, not now. I need to take you somewhere safe. I need to close the library. I need to, already done." He gestured toward the entrance where 2 men in dark suits had materialized. One of them nodded at Dante, then began efficiently moving the unconscious attackers toward the back exit. "My people will handle it. Your shift ended. You saw nothing. You left at your usual time." "Lily," I said suddenly, panic spiking through the shock. "My sister, she's home alone. If they came after me, she's safe." Dante's hand came up, cupping my face with infinite gentleness. "I have 4 men watching your apartment. She's asleep in her bed, having successfully completed her algebra test this afternoon with an A-. She's safe, Tesoro." I swear it on my life. The fact that he knew about Lily's test should have frightened me. Instead, it did something else entirely. It made me feel. Cared for, protected, seen in a way I hadn't been since my parents died. Who are you? I whispered, looking up into those dark eyes. Really? Dante Salvatore, he said. Heir to the Salvatore family. Which means... He paused, seeming to weigh his words. Which means I'm exactly the kind of man your mother warned you about. The kind of man you should run from. The kind of man who brings nothing but danger and darkness into the lives of everyone he touches. Then why are you touching me? The question hung between us. His hand was still on my face, his thumb tracing my cheekbone. I should pull away, should slap him. Should do anything except lean into his touch. Because, he said quietly, for the first time in 10 years, I looked at someone and saw light instead of darkness. And I'm selfish enough, weak enough to want to stand in that light just a little longer. Even knowing I'll destroy it eventually. You're not destroying anything. Not yet. But I will. He dropped his hand, stepping back. That's what men like me do, Tesoro. We ruin beautiful things. It's our nature. Maybe you need to stop telling yourself that story. Something flickered in his expression, surprise, maybe, or hope. But before he could respond, one of his men approached, speaking low in Italian. Dante nodded, then turned back to me. Come with me, he said, extending his hand. Please, let me keep you safe tonight. Let me explain everything. And then, if you want, I'll walk away. I'll make sure you're protected, but I'll stay away. I'll let you go back to your life. I looked at his outstretched hand. At the choice he was offering me. I thought about my careful, ordered life. My predictable routine, my safe choices. And I thought about dark eyes and Italian whispers and the feeling of being seen completely for the first time in years. I took his hand. Okay, I whispered. Explain. His fingers closed around mine, warm and solid and real. Thank you, he said, and the relief in his voice was palpable. Thank you, Claire. He led me out of the library, past his men who worked with silent efficiency, past the blood being cleaned from the floor, past the normal world and into something else entirely. Into his world. And as we stepped into the rain-washed Chicago night, I realized I just crossed a threshold I could never uncross. The before and after I'd sensed that first night had arrived. My life would never be the same. And looking up at Dante Salvatore as he held open the door of a sleek black Mercedes, seeing the way he looked at me like I was both his salvation and his damnation, I wasn't sure I wanted it to be. The Mercedes smelled like leather and expensive cologne. I slid into the passenger seat, my hands shaking as I fastened the seatbelt. Dante settled into the driver's seat with fluid grace, starting the engine with barely a sound. The car actually purred in a way that reminded me of a predator's satisfied rumble. Where are we going? I asked as he pulled out of the parking lot. Somewhere we can talk without interruption. Somewhere safe. Your place? No. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Not my place. That's complicated. There's a restaurant, close to the public tonight. The owner owes me a favor. Of course he did. We drove through the rain-slicked streets of Chicago in silence. I watched the city pass by through the window, the late-night crowds outside bars, the homeless huddled under awnings, the endless string of headlights and neon signs. My city, the city I'd lived in my entire life. Suddenly it felt foreign, as if I was seeing it through different eyes, Dante's eyes. A world where people owed favors and violence happened in library shadows and men in suits watched from street corners. You're frightened, he said quietly. Of course I'm frightened. 3 men just tried to kidnap me. Not of them. Of me. I turned to look at him. His profile was sharp in the passing streetlights, all angles and shadows. Beautiful and dangerous in equal measure. Should I be? Frightened of you? Yes, he said it without hesitation. I'm a dangerous man, Claire. I do dangerous things. I've hurt people. Killed people. I live in a world where violence is currency and loyalty is bought with blood. You should absolutely be frightened of me. But, his lips curved slightly. But I would rather die than hurt you. I would burn the entire city to the ground before I let anyone touch you again. I would. He stopped himself, jaw clenching. Christo, listen to me. 3 days of watching you and I'm already... Already what? He didn't answer. We pulled up outside a small Italian restaurant in Little Italy. The neon sign was dark, but light glowed from inside. A man in a suit stood by the door, one of Dante's people, I assumed. He nodded as we approached, opening the door without a word. Inside, the restaurant was beautiful. Warm lighting, white tablecloths, the smell of garlic and wine and something baking. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers. A single table was set in the center of the room, candlelight flickering across crystal glasses and polished silverware. "Sit," Dante said, pulling out a chair for me. "Please, are you hungry?" I realized, starving. The adrenaline crash was hitting hard, leaving me shaky and hollow. "Yes." He smiled a real smile this time, without the shadows. "Good. Antonio's wife makes the best osso buco in Chicago. You'll love it." He disappeared into the kitchen, and I heard him speaking rapid Italian with someone. Warm, affectionate Italian, so different from the cold commands he'd given his men at the library. When he returned, he carried a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. "Brunello di Montalcino," he said, pouring. "From my family's vineyard in Tuscany. We've been making wine there for 200 years. "Your family," I said, accepting the glass. "The Salvatore family. Who are they? What do they do?" Dante settled into the chair across from me, his long fingers wrapping around the wine glass. He took a sip, considering his words. "What do you know about organized crime, Tesoro?" My stomach dropped. "Your mafia. That word has connotations, implications, but yes. My family has been part of La Famiglia for generations. My great-great-grandfather came over from Sicily in 1892. He started with a small gambling operation. Protection services, loans. Over the decades, we expanded, diversified. Now we control," he paused, "large sections of Chicago's economy. Legal and otherwise, you're a crime boss. I'm the heir. My father was the Don, was." His voice roughened. "He was killed 2 years ago. Gunned down outside his favorite restaurant by rivals. I inherited his empire, his responsibilities, his enemies." "I'm sorry," I said softly. "About your father." He looked surprised. "You're sorry?" "I just told you I'm a criminal and you're offering condolences? You lost your father. That matters more than what he did for a living." Something in his expression cracked. He took another sip of wine, longer this time, and I saw his hand tremble slightly. "He was a hard man," Dante said finally. "Brutal when he needed to be. But he loved his family, protected his people. He had rules, codes, no drugs, no prostitution, no hurting innocents. The Salvatores don't prey on the weak. We protect them. Is that what you're doing? Protecting me?" "Yes and no." He set down his wine glass. 3 weeks ago, I saw you defend that homeless man. I was there on business meeting with the owner of a restaurant we provide security for. I saw you step between him and those kids, and He shook his head. "I couldn't look away. You were so small, so clearly terrified, but you didn't back down. You lectured them about compassion and human dignity like you were scolding children, and they listened. They actually listened and walked away. So you decided to stalk me? I decided to learn about you, who you were. Why someone like you existed in a city like this. And what I found," he leaned forward, his eyes intense. "You're 28. You work as a librarian. You have a degree in literature from Northwestern full scholarship because your grades were exceptional. Your parents died 3 years ago in a car accident on the Kennedy Expressway. You became guardian to your younger sister. Lily, you work 60 hours a week between the library and freelance editing jobs to pay for her private school. You donate to homeless shelters despite barely making rent. You volunteer at the animal shelter on your days off. You read romance novels before bed and drink too much coffee and you smile at strangers on the street." I felt exposed, vulnerable. He peeled back every layer of my life and examined them. I swallowed hard. "That's a lot of information. I needed to know if you were real. If someone could actually be that good in a world this rotten. I'm not good. I'm just trying to survive." "You're extraordinary." He said it with such conviction that I felt heat rise in my cheeks. "And that's why you're in danger now." Because Viktor Kozlov, the Russian who controls the South Side, he found out about my interest in you. He saw an opportunity. A way to leverage me. The men at the library worked for him? Yes, they were supposed to take you alive, bring you to him, use you to make me agree to certain concessions. Territory, money, power. What would you have done? If they'd succeeded? His eyes went dark. Whatever he wanted. Everything he wanted. I would have given him the entire city if it meant keeping me safe. Why? The question burst out of me. Why do you care? You don't know me. We've had one conversation. You can't possibly, I know. He cut me off, his voice rough. I know it's insane. I know it's irrational. But from the moment I saw you, something changed. Shifted. For 10 years I've lived in darkness, violence, death. I stopped believing good things existed. And then you... He reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of touching mine. You reminded me there's still light in the world, that not everything is corruption and blood. I looked at you and I wanted to be better. To deserve to exist in the same world as someone like you. My breath caught. Dante, I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I know I can't have you. I know I bring nothing but danger, but let me protect you. Let me make sure you and Lily are safe. That's all I want. To know that you're out there somewhere living your beautiful, ordinary life, untouched by the ugliness of mine. The restaurant door opened and an older woman emerged from the kitchen carrying plates of food. She set them down with a warm smile, said something in Italian to Dante that made him respond with affectionate exasperation, then disappeared again. The audiobook smelled incredible. Tender veal and rich sauce, saffron risotto, vegetables glistening with butter. My stomach growled audibly. Eat, Dante said, his tone gentling. Please, you're shaking. I was. The adrenaline crash combined with everything he'd just told me had left me trembling. I picked up my fork and took a bite. It was delicious. Rich and complex and comforting in a way that made my eyes sting with sudden tears. It's good? Dan asked, watching me closely. It's perfect, I whispered. We ate in silence for a while. The food grounded me, brought me back to my body. I was aware of every sensation, the smooth texture of the risotto, the way the wine warmed my throat, the flicker of candlelight across the white tablecloth. And I was aware of Dante, the way he cut his food with precise movements, the way his eyes kept drifting to me as if he couldn't help but watch, the way his presence filled the space, commanding and yet somehow careful, as if he was trying to make himself smaller, less threatening. What happens now? I asked finally, setting down my fork. Now, I take you home. I post guards on your building. I make sure Kozlov and everyone else knows you're under my protection, and He hesitated. I stay away from you. As much as possible. I won't approach you again unless you're in danger. What if I don't want you to stay away? His hand froze halfway to his wine glass. Claire, you said I reminded you there's light in the world. Well, I took a breath, gathering courage. You make me feel protected, seen. For 3 years, I've been so focused on taking care of Lily, on surviving, that I forgot what it felt like to have someone take care of me. Even if it's in this bizarre, stalkerish way. It is stalkerish, he agreed. It's wrong. You should tell me to leave you alone. I should, I agreed. But I'm not going to. Why not? I met his eyes across the table. Because I think you need me as much as I need you. Because I think we're both drowning in our own ways, and somehow we found each other. And maybe that means something. It means you're going to get hurt. But his voice had lost its certainty. It means I'm going to fail you eventually. I'm not a good man, Claire. I can't be what you need. What I need, I said slowly, is someone who looks at me the way you do. Like I matter. Like I'm more than just the responsible older sister or the overworked librarian or the girl who's too busy surviving to actually live. You make me feel seen. You are seen, he said roughly. Cristo, Tesoro, you're all I see. The air between us felt electric, charged with possibility and danger in equal measure. I have conditions, I said, and some part of me couldn't believe I was negotiating with a mafia boss, if we're going to. Whatever this is, name them. Lily stays out of it, completely. She doesn't know about you, about your world, about any of this. She's 16. She deserves to be a normal teenager. Agreed. She'd be protected, but from a distance. She'd never know. And you don't lie to me. I need honesty. Even if it's ugly, even if it scares me. He nodded slowly. I can do that. Though you may wish I hadn't. And I hesitated on the last one. And you let me make my own choices. You protect me fine. But you don't control me. You don't make decisions for me. My life is still my life. This one seemed to cause him physical pain. His jaw clenched and I saw the struggle play out across his face. Finally, he nodded. Okay, but if there's immediate danger, all bets are off. If it's between your independence and your safety, I'm choosing your safety every time. Fair enough. My turn, he said. My conditions. You get conditions? If I'm doing this, if I'm allowing you into my life, then yes. I get conditions. I gestured for him to continue, trying not to smile at his arrogance. You carry a phone I give you. It has a panic button. You press it, I come running, no questions asked. Okay. You tell me when you're going somewhere unusual, not asking permission, he added quickly. Just informing me. So I can make sure you're protected. All right. And you... He paused, seeming to struggle with the words. You don't sacrifice yourself for me. If it comes down to a choice between your safety and mine, you choose yours. Always? Capis? That's not going to happen. It might. And if it does, I need to know you'll survive. That you'll keep living your beautiful life. That's non-negotiable, Claire. That's the price of admission. I saw the pain in his eyes, the certainty that he was doomed. That this story could only end one way. Okay, I whispered. I promise. He relaxed slightly, nodding. Then he stood, coming around the table to pull out my chair. His hand touched my lower back, just a whisper of contact as he guided me toward the door. Come on, Tesoro. Let's get you home. It's late and you have work tomorrow. So do you, I imagine. The work of a doe never sleeps, but he said it with dark humor. We stepped out into the Chicago night. The rain had stopped, leaving everything wet and gleaming. The city felt different now, more alive, more dangerous. More real. Dante opened the car door for me and I slid inside. As he walked around to the driver's side, I watched him move all controlled power and lethal grace. A predator in human form. And somehow, impossibly, he'd chosen to protect me instead of destroy me. The drive back to my apartment was quiet. Comfortable, even. Dante's hand rested on the gear shift and I found myself staring at it. Strong hands, scarred knuckles. Hands that had killed tonight to protect me. I should be horrified, terrified. Instead, I felt safe. We pulled up outside my building. Dante parked, then turned to face me. Tomorrow, someone will come by the library. His name is Anthony. He'll give you the phone I mentioned. He'll also give you a list of security protocols. Follow them per favor. Okay. And Claire. His hand came up, cupping my face with that same infinite gentleness. Thank you for giving me a chance. For not running screaming, he smiled slightly. For being brave enough to see past what I am to who I could be. Who you already are, I corrected softly. He leaned in slowly, giving me every opportunity to pull away. His lips brushed my forehead, just a whisper of contact, reverent and careful. Then he pulled back, his eyes dark with barely restrained emotion. Boo not, Tesoro. Sleep well. Good night, Dante. I climbed out of the car and walked toward my building, feeling his eyes on me the entire way. When I reached the door, I turned back. He was still there, watching, making sure I got inside safely. I waved. He smiled a real smile without shadows. Then I went inside and he drove away into the night. I took the elevator up to my apartment, my mind spinning with everything that had happened. 3 men had tried to kidnap me. Dante had saved me. I'd learned he was mafia, and I'd agreed to. What? Let him protect me, let him into my life. Let myself feel something for him? I opened my apartment door as quietly as possible. The kitchen light was still on. Everything looked normal, undisturbed. I checked on Lily. She was asleep, exactly as Dante had said. Peaceful and safe and completely unaware that her sister's life had just been turned upside down. I retreated to my room and closed the door, pulled out my phone, stared at Dante's number in my contacts. Before I could second-guess myself, I typed out a message, made it home. Thank you. For everything. The response came almost immediately. Always, Tesoro. I'll be watching. You're safe. I climbed into bed, my body exhausted but my mind racing. Tomorrow, I'd wake up and go to work and pretend everything was normal. But nothing was normal anymore. I'd met a man in the shadows between library shelves. A dangerous man. A violent man. A man who looked at me like I was light in his darkness. And despite every rational thought in my head, despite every warning sign, I wanted to be that light for him, even if it meant burning. I woke to sunlight streaming through my bedroom window and the smell of burnt toast. My alarm showed 6:47, aimed 30 minutes later than it should have gone off. I'd overslept. Panic jolted me awake. Lily had school. I had the morning shift at the library. We had a routine and I just disrupted it by sleeping through. Relax, Claire. Lily's voice called from the kitchen. I made breakfast. I stumbled out of bed, still wearing yesterday's clothes. I'd been too exhausted to change into proper pajamas. My reflection in the bathroom mirror looked rough. Dark circles under my eyes. Hair a mess. The faint shadow of a bruise on my wrist where the man had grabbed me. I pulled my sleeve down and went to the kitchen. Lily was at the stove, attempting to scrape carbon off what had once been bread. She was dressed in her school uniform, navy skirt, white blouse, the St. Catherine's crest on her blazer, her dark hair pulled into a ponytail. She looked so much like Mom, it sometimes hurt to look at her. "Morning, sleeping beauty," she said cheerfully. "You were dead to the world when my alarm went off, so I figured I'd let you sleep and make breakfast myself. How do you feel about extra crispy toast?" "Extra crispy is perfect," I lied, moving to start the coffee maker. "Thank you, Lil. You okay?" "You look exhausted." "Late night at work." "Some issues with the cataloging system." The lie came easily. Too easily. I never lied to Lily before. Our relationship had been built on honesty after our parents died. No secrets. No sugarcoating. Just the two of us against the world. Now I was lying to her about men with gold teeth trying to kidnap me. About a mafia boss who killed for me. About the fact that her entire life was now under armed guard. "Well, you should ask for a raise," Lily said, setting a plate of burnt toast and scrambled eggs in front of me. "You work too hard. Someone has to pay for that fancy school of yours. I could transfer to public school." "Save money." "No," I said it firmly. "You're staying at St. Catherine's. You're thriving there. Your grades are amazing. You're making friends. That's worth every penny. If you say so." But she smiled, pleased. She loved her school, even if she'd never admit it. We ate breakfast together, talking about her day. She had a history presentation, a chemistry lab, volleyball practice after school. Normal teenage things. The kind of normalcy I was desperate to preserve. At 7:30, I walked her to the bus stop, just like I did every morning. But today, I noticed things I'd never noticed before. The black sedan parked across the street with tinted windows. The man in a suit standing at the corner, ostensibly reading his phone, but clearly watching us. The way no one got too close to Lily as she waited with the other students. Protection. Dante's protection. The bus arrived, and Lily climbed aboard with a wave. I watched it pull away, then turned to walk back to my apartment. The man in the suit was suddenly there, blocking my path. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with olive skin and dark eyes. Italian like Dante. "Miss Bennet," he said, his voice respectful. "My name is Anthony. Mr. Salvatore sent me. Anthony." The one Dante had mentioned. Of course he did. I looked around, suddenly aware of how exposed we were on the street. "Should we talk somewhere more private?" "Your apartment would be best." I led him back upstairs, hyper-aware of his presence behind me. He moved like Dante, quiet, controlled, always scanning his surroundings. When we reached my apartment, he did a quick sweep of the rooms before nodding. "Clear. Were you expecting someone to be hiding in my closet?" "Always expect threats, Miss Bennet. That's how you survive." He pulled out a phone from his jacket pocket, sleek, black, clearly expensive. "Mr. Salvatore wanted you to have this. It has a panic button." He showed me a red button on the side. "Press and hold for 3 seconds and we're alerted to your location. Someone will arrive within 5 minutes. What if I'm somewhere remote? Then they'll arrive within 10 minutes via helicopter." I stared at him. "Helicopter?" "Mr. Salvatore takes your safety very seriously." He clearly did. Anthony spent the next 20 minutes explaining security protocols. Don't take unfamiliar routes home. Don't accept drinks from strangers. Don't go anywhere alone after dark. Check my car before getting in. Be aware of my surroundings at all times. It was like learning to live in a completely different world. "Do you have questions?" Anthony asked when he finished. "Yes. Why does Dante care so much? I mean, I understand he's interested in me. But this level of protection seems excessive for someone he barely knows." Anthony's expression softened. Mr. Salvatore doesn't do anything halfway, Miss Bennet. When he cares about something, he cares completely. Obsessively, some might say. And you? He paused, seeming to weigh his words. You're the first thing he's cared about besides his family in a very long time. Losing you would break something in him that's already barely holding together. The rawness of that statement hit me hard. He lost his father 2 years ago, I said quietly. He did, and his mother 4 years before that, cancer. He watched her waste away, unable to save her despite all his money and power. His father's death was traumatic. Dante found him. Held him while he died. He's been different since then, harder, more isolated. Until you? I didn't do anything. You existed. You reminded him what goodness looks like. That's more than anyone else has done. Anthony stood, straightening his jacket. I should go, but I'll be around. You won't always see me, but I'm always watching. We all are. Thank you, Anthony. He nodded, then paused at the door. Miss Bennet? Don't hurt him, please. He's been hurt enough. Then he was gone, leaving me alone with a new phone and 100 complicated feelings. I went to work in a daze. The library felt different now, less like a sanctuary and more like a crime scene. The main desk where I'd been grabbed. The dark aisles where Dante had moved like a shadow. The blood stains that had been expertly cleaned but that I could still see in my mind. My coworker, Jennifer, noticed my distraction immediately. You okay, Claire? You seem out of it. Didn't sleep well? Bad dreams? Something like that. The day passed slowly. I cataloged books, helped patrons, restocked shelves. All the normal tasks that suddenly felt surreal. I kept expecting something to happen, more men in suits, another threat, Dante appearing from the shadows. But nothing happened. The library was quiet, peaceful. At lunch, I pulled out the new phone. There was a single contact saved, Dante. I stared at it for a long moment, then typed, "Thank you for the phone." And for Anthony. He's very thorough. The response came within seconds. He's the best. How are you today, Tesoro? Did you sleep? Not much, you? I never sleep much. Too many enemies, not enough trust. That sounds exhausting. It is. But thinking about you made it better. Heat bloomed in my chest. I shouldn't feel this way. Shouldn't be flirting with a mafia boss via text while sitting in a public library. But I was. What are you doing right now? I typed, meeting with my accountants. Discussing revenue streams and investment portfolios. Very boring. I'd much rather be talking to you. I'm at work. Cataloging books. What are you reading these days? The question surprised me. How do you know I'm reading something? You're a librarian, Tesoro. Of course you're reading something. Multiple somethings, probably. He was right. I was currently juggling 3 books, a romance novel, a biography of Emily Dickinson, and a thriller someone had recommended. Currently? A romance novel. About a woman who falls for her bodyguard. There was a pause. Then, art imitating life? I smiled despite myself. Maybe life imitating art. The jury's still out. Let me know how it ends. I'm curious if the bodyguard gets the girl. In romance novels, they always do. Then perhaps there's hope for me yet. My heart did something complicated in my chest. Before I could respond, Jennifer appeared at my desk. Claire, there's a delivery for you. Front desk. Confused, I put down my phone and went to the front desk. A massive bouquet of flowers sat there, white roses, dozens of them arranged in an elegant crystal vase. The attached card simply read, "For bringing light into darkness." D.S. Wow, Jennifer breathed. Someone's got an admirer. Who's D's? Just someone I met recently. Someone with good taste and a big wallet by the looks of it. Those are expensive roses. They were. I could tell just by looking at them. Each bloom was perfect, probably imported. Definitely not from any local florist. I carried them back to my desk, unable to stop smiling. Then I picked up my phone. The flowers are beautiful. Thank you. You deserve beautiful things, Tesoro. Get used to it. I worked the rest of my shift with the roses on my desk, filling the air with their delicate scent. Patrons commented on them. Jennifer teased me about my mysterious admirer, and I felt lighter than I had in years. It was dangerous, this feeling, this warmth spreading through my chest. This hope that maybe, just maybe, something good could come from all of this. At 5 p.m., my shift ended. I packed up my things, carefully carried the roses to my car, which still ran perfectly, courtesy of Dante's interference, and drove home. Lily was already there, working on homework at the kitchen table. "Holy crap, those are gorgeous," she said when she saw the flowers. "Where did they come from?" Friend? A friend?" Her eyes lit up with mischief. "Claire Bennett, do you have a boyfriend?" "No, I mean, it's complicated." "We just met." "But he's sending you flowers like that?" "He must be serious." If only she knew how serious. How deadly serious. "It's still new," I said, setting the vase on the kitchen counter. "Don't get excited." But Lily was already excited, peppering me with questions I couldn't really answer. What did he look like? How did we meet? When could she meet him? Never, I thought. You can never meet him. You can never know about this part of my life. I deflected her questions as best I could, then made dinner pasta with marinara sauce, nothing fancy. We ate together, talking about her day, her classes, her friends. Normal sister stuff. After dinner, Lily retreated to her room to video chat with friends. I cleaned up, then retreated to my own room with my phone. A text from Dante waited. "I want to see you tonight." Is that possible? My pulse quickened. Lily's home. I can't leave her alone. I'll come to you. The roof of your building. 10 p.m., if you're comfortable with that. The roof. Where we'd be alone but still close to my apartment. Where I could check on Lily if needed. Okay, 10 p.m. Wear something warm. The nights are getting cold. I spent the next 2 hours in nervous anticipation. I showered, changed into jeans and a sweater, tried to calm my racing heart. At 9:55, I told Lily I was going to the building's gym. A lie, we didn't have a gym, and took the elevator to the top floor. The roof access was supposedly locked, but the door opened easily when I tried it. Of course it did. Dante would have made sure of that. I climbed the final set of stairs and emerged onto the roof. The Chicago skyline spread before me, a glittering panorama of lights and steel. The wind was sharp, carrying the scent of autumn and distant rain. And standing at the edge, silhouetted against the city lights, was Dante. He turned when he heard me approach, and even in the darkness, I could see his smile. "Tesoro," he said softly. "You came. Did you think I wouldn't?" I hoped. But hope is a dangerous thing for men like me. He was wearing dark jeans and a leather jacket over a black sweater. Casual clothes that somehow made him seem even more dangerous. More real, not the polished mafia boss, but just a man. A beautiful, complicated, deadly man. "Come here," he said, extending his hand. I crossed the roof and took it. His fingers intertwined with mine, warm despite the cold night air. He pulled me close, not quite into an embrace, but close enough that I could feel his body heat. "I've been thinking about you all day," he admitted. "During every boring meeting, every tedious negotiation. All I could think about was this moment. Being alone with you. I thought about you too. Did you?" His free hand came up, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "What did you think? That this is insane. That I should be running in the opposite direction. That you're dangerous and complicated and everything I should avoid. But I can't stop wanting to know more. To understand you, I trailed off unsure how to finish, to see if what we're feeling is real." He supplied. "Yes." He was quiet for a moment, his thumb tracing circles on the back of my hand. "It's real, Claire. At least for me. More real than anything I've felt in years. Maybe ever. How can you know? We barely know each other. I know you defend strangers from violence. I know you work yourself to exhaustion to give your sister a better life. I know you read romance novels and believe in happy endings even in a world that constantly proves they don't exist. I know you're brave and kind and so fucking beautiful it hurts to look at you sometimes." My breath caught. "Dante, I know I'm too much," he said quickly. "Too intense, too fast. That's who I am. I don't do anything halfway. If you need me to slow down, I don't." The words tumbled out before I could stop them. "I don't need you to slow down. I need you to be honest. To not hide who you are. Then let me be honest." He pulled me fully into his arms now, his hands settling on my waist. "I want you, Claire, not just to protect, not just to admire from a distance. I want you in every way a man can want a woman. I want to know everything about you. I want to hear about your day and bring you flowers and make you laugh. I want to kiss you until we both forget our names. I want... He stopped, his jaw clenching. Christo, I want things I have no right to want. What if I want them too? His eyes went dark. Don't say that unless you mean it. I mean it. And I did. God help me, I did. He stared at me for a long moment as if trying to read my soul. Then, slowly giving me every chance to pull away, he lowered his head. His lips met mine gently at first, carefully, as if I was something precious that might shatter. But I didn't shatter, I melted. I melted into him, into the kiss, into the feeling of his arms around me and his mouth on mine. He tasted like expensive wine and danger and something uniquely him. His hands tightened on my waist, pulling me closer, and the kiss deepened. It was my first kiss in 3 years. Since before my parents died. Since before my life became about survival and responsibility and putting Lily first. This kiss made me remember what it felt like to want something for myself. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Dante rested his forehead against mine, his hands still holding me close. Dio, he breathed. You're going to be the death of me to sorrow. Good thing you have excellent security, Ben. He laughed a real laugh, full of genuine amusement. You're remarkable. You know that? I'm really not. I'm just a librarian who makes me want to be better. Who makes me believe I could be better. That's remarkable. We stood there on the roof wrapped in each other's arms. The city spread below us like a carpet of stars. And for the first time in years, I felt something other than exhaustion and worry. I felt hope. Tell me something about yourself, I said softly. Something real. Something that matters. He was quiet for a moment, his fingers tracing patterns on my back. I was 8 when I realized what my family really did. My father took me to one of our warehouses. There was a man there tied to a chair. He'd stolen from us. Drugs, I think, though I didn't understand that then. My father. He wanted me to watch. To learn what happened to thieves and traitors. My heart clenched. Dante. I threw up afterwards, cried, begged my father not to make me go back, but he did. Again and again. Teaching me that our world was built on fear and respect. That violence was sometimes necessary. That weakness would get you killed. His voice had gone flat, emotionless. By the time I was 12, I didn't cry anymore. By 15, I could inflict that same violence without flinching. By 20, I was my father's right hand. But you hated it. He seemed surprised by the statement. I never thought of it as something to hate or love. It just was. The family business. My inheritance. My duty. Until 3 weeks ago. Until I saw you defending a stranger and realized there were people in the world who chose kindness over violence. Who protected the weak not because of duty or territory, but because it was right. And I wanted... He pulled back to look at me, his eyes vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen before. I wanted to be someone you could look at without fear. Someone worthy of that kindness. I cupped his face with both hands. You are worthy. You saved me. You protect your people. You have codes and rules. You're not just violence. Dante, you're so much more than that. You see what you want to see. I see you. He kissed me again, harder this time, almost desperate. As if he was trying to prove something to me or to himself, I wasn't sure. When we broke apart, his eyes were suspiciously bright. I should let you go, he said roughly. It's late. Lily will wonder where you are. Probably, but neither of us moved. Tomorrow, he said. Have dinner with me, a real dinner at my place. Let me show you my world. The parts of it that aren't blood and violence. Okay, I said it without hesitation, even knowing I was diving deeper into something I didn't fully understand. What time? 7, I'll send Anthony to pick you up. I can drive myself. I know you can't, Tesoro, but let me do this. Let me send a car. It makes me feel better. The vulnerability in his voice made me relent. Okay, 7. One more kiss long and sweet and full of promises neither of us might be able to keep. Then he walked me to the roof access, waited while I descended the stairs, and somehow I knew he'd watch until I was safely back in my apartment. I checked on Lily fast asleep, earbuds still in, phone clutched in one hand. I smiled, pulled a blanket over her, and retreated to my own room. My lips still tingled from Dante's kisses. My heart still raced from the feeling of being in his arms. I was falling for a mafia boss. And I didn't know if that made me brave or stupid. Probably both. The next day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Every hour felt like 10. Every minute stretched like elastic. I went through the motions at work, helped patrons, shelved books, processed returns, but my mind was elsewhere. At Dante's place, at 7 p.m., meeting his world. Jennifer noticed my distraction immediately. "Hot date tonight?" she asked with a knowing smile. "Something like that." "With the flower guy?" "Yes." "Well, you picked a good one." "Those roses must have cost a fortune." "More than you know," I thought. At 6 p.m., I left work and rushed home. Lily was at volleyball practice. She texted me earlier, which gave me time to prepare without 20 questions. I showered, blow-dried my hair until it fell in soft waves, applied makeup with more care than usual. Then I stood in front of my closet, staring at my limited wardrobe options. Would have been wear to dinner at a mafia boss's house. I settled on a simple black dress, elegant but not overly formal, with long sleeves and a modest hemline that ended just above my knee. Paired with the one pair of heels I owned and simple jewelry, it would have to do. At precisely 7 p.m., there was a knock on my door. Anthony stood in the hallway, looking professional in a dark suit. "Miss Bennett, you look lovely." "Thank you, Anthony. The car is waiting downstairs. Are you ready?" "No." "Yes, maybe. Ready?" The car was a black Mercedes like the one Dante had driven. Anthony opened the back door for me and I slid into leather seats that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The interior smelled like expensive cologne and possibility. We drove through Chicago as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. I watched the city pass by, my stomach a knot of nervous anticipation. "Mr. Salvatore is very much looking forward to seeing you," Anthony said from the front seat. "Is he nervous?" Anthony smiled the first time I'd seen him do so. "Extremely. He's changed his shirt 3 times and yelled at the cook twice. Very unlike him." The image of Dante, powerful and controlled, nervous about seeing me, made me smile. We left the downtown area, heading toward the Gold Coast. The buildings grew larger, more luxurious. Old money and new power lived here, behind gates and security systems. Finally, we turned onto a private drive that led to a massive estate. Iron gates opened as we approached, revealing manicured lawns and towering oak trees. At the end of the drive sat a house, a mansion that took my breath away. Italian Renaissance architecture, all stone and arched windows in elegant proportions. Warm light glowed from inside, making it look like something from a movie. "Welcome to the Salvatore estate," Anthony said, pulling up to the front entrance. The door opened before we'd even stopped, and Dante emerged. He was wearing dark slacks and a white dress shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal his forearms. His hair was slightly mussed, as if he'd been running his hands through it. And the look on his face when he saw me, like I was the answer to a prayer he'd been too afraid to speak, made my heart skip. Anthony opened my door and I stepped out. Dante closed the distance between us in 3 strides. "Claire," he said softly. "You're here. I said I would be." "I know, but I was afraid you'd change your mind. That you'd realize how insane this is," and I stood on my toes and kissed him, cutting off his worried rambling. He froze for a second, then his arms came around me, pulling me close. When we broke apart, he was smiling. "Hello, Tesoro." "Hello." He offered his arm and I took it. Anthony had already disappeared, probably giving us privacy. Dante led me into his house and I tried not to gape. The interior was stunning. Marble floors, soaring ceilings, artwork that looked museum quality. But it was also warm, lived in. There were books on tables, a jacket thrown over a chair, photos on the walls. "Your home is beautiful," I said. "It's too big for one person. My father built it when he married my mother. They wanted to fill it with children. But I was their only one." He said it matter-of-factly, but I heard the loneliness underneath. "Well, tonight it's not empty," I said. "You have a guest." His smile turned warm. "The best guest." He led me through the house, pointing out rooms, a library that made me gasp with envy, a sitting room with a fireplace, a conservatory filled with plants. Finally, we reached a dining room where a table was set for 2. Candles flickered across white linens. Crystal glasses caught the light. The smell of something delicious wafted from the nearby kitchen. "I had my chef prepare something special," Dante said, pulling out a chair for me. "I hope you're hungry, starving." He sat across from me. and a woman I assumed was the chef appeared with the first course bruschetta with fresh tomatoes and basil drizzled with balsamic reduction. "This is incredible," I said after the first bite. "Wait until you try the main course." We ate and talked, the conversation flowing easily. He asked about my work, about the books I was reading, about Lily and her school. I asked about his family, his business, the legal parts anyway, his childhood in Chicago. The main course arrived handmade pasta with a sauce that was both simple and complex, paired with wine from his family's vineyard. "Tell me about Italy," I said. "Your family's from there, right?" "Sicily originally. My great-great-grandfather came over during the Great Immigration. But we still have land in Tuscany. The vineyard I mentioned. I try to visit once a year, though it's been difficult lately. Maybe you could take me someday." Words slipped out before I could stop them. Presumptuous. Assuming a future we hadn't discussed. But Dante's eyes lit up. "I would love that. To show you the land where my family comes from. To walk through the vineyard at sunset. He paused, his expression turning vulnerable, to have you there. In a place that matters to me. Then maybe we will, someday." "Someday," he repeated as if testing the word. Testing the possibility of a future together. After dinner, he led me to the library I admired earlier. Bookshelves lined every wall, floor to ceiling, filled with volumes in multiple languages. A fire crackled in the fireplace, casting dancing shadows across the room. "This is my favorite room in the house," Dante said, settling onto a leather sofa and pulling me down beside him. "I come here when things get too heavy. When I need to remember there's more to life than business and violence." "What do you read?" "Poetry, mostly. Italian classics." "Dante." Obviously, my father had a sense of humor. Petrarch, Leopardi, and sometimes he gestured to a shelf filled with romance novels. "Your genre?" I laughed. "You read romance novels?" "I read everything. And I wanted to understand what you loved about them. What made you believe in happy endings? Did you figure it out?" "I think so. They're not about the perfect man or the perfect woman. They're about two broken people finding each other and choosing to be whole together. About love being stronger than fear or doubt or all the reasons why it shouldn't work." He turned to look at me, his eyes intense. "Am I right?" "You're exactly right. Then maybe there's hope for us. Two broken people choosing each other." I cupped his face, feeling the slight stubble on his jaw. "We're not that broken, Dante. We're just healing." He kissed me then, soft and slow and full of emotion. The kiss deepened, his hands tangling in my hair, my fingers gripping his shirt. The fire crackled beside us, warming the room, warming us. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathless. "Stay," he whispered. "Tonight." "Don't leave yet?" "I can't. Lily is at a friend's house. Sleepover. She texted you an hour ago." I pulled out my phone. He was right. Lily had texted, sleeping over at Jess's. "See you tomorrow morning. Have fun with your hot date." "You knew about this?" I may have suggested to Marco he's friends with Jess's older brother that a sleepover might be nice tonight. Purely coincidental timing. "You manipulated my sister's social calendar?" I prefer to think of it as strategic planning, but he looked worried. Is that too much?" "I can have Anthony drive you home right now if it's definitely too much." But I was smiling. It's also kind of sweet. In a controlling, overprotective, mafia boss kind of way. "So you'll stay?" I knew what he was asking, what staying meant. Not just remaining in his house, but choosing him. Choosing this. Choosing us. "I'll stay," I whispered. The relief that flooded his face was almost painful to witness. He pulled me close, burying his face in my hair. "Thank you," he breathed. "Thank you, Tesoro, for giving me this, for giving us a chance." We sat by the fire for hours, talking and kissing and simply being together. He told me stories about his childhood, about his mother's garden, about his father's rare moments of tenderness, about learning to ride a bike in the mansion's circular driveway. I told him about my parents, about the accident that took them, about the terror of suddenly being responsible for a teenager when I was barely an adult myself. We shared our scars and our fears and our hopes. And sometime around midnight, he led me upstairs to his bedroom. It was masculine but elegant dark wood furniture, a massive bed with soft sheets, windows overlooking the city. He turned to face me, his expression serious. We don't have to do anything you're not ready for, he said. I just wanted to be close to you, to hold you. That's enough. What if I want more than enough? His eyes darkened. Then tell me. Tell me what you want, Claire. I'll give you anything. I want you, I said simply. All of you. I want to know what it feels like to be yours. You are mine, he said roughly. From the moment I saw you, you've been mine. And I've been yours, completely. He kissed me again, and this time there was urgency behind it. Need. His hands roamed my back, finding the zipper of my dress. He paused, giving me one last chance to change my mind. I didn't. The dress fell away. His shirt followed. And then there was just us, skin and breath, and the feeling of finally being seen completely. He was gentle and passionate and attentive in ways I never experienced. He worshipped every inch of me as if I was something sacred. And I learned his body, the scars that marked his skin, the tattoos that told his story, the places that made him gasp and shudder. When we finally came together, it felt like coming home. Afterwards, we lay tangled in his sheets, my head on his chest, his arms around me. His heartbeat was steady and strong beneath my ear. I love you, he said quietly into the darkness. I know it's too soon. I know it's crazy. But I love you, Claire. I've loved you since that first night in the library. Since you looked at me without fear. Since you saw something in me worth protecting. Tears burned behind my eyes. I love you too. God help me, I do. He held me tighter as if he was afraid I might disappear. Then stay, not just tonight, stay with me. Move into this house. Let me take care of you and Lily. Let me give you the life you deserve. Dante, I can't just... I know it's too fast. But I need you to know that's what I want. Eventually, when you're ready, a life together, a real life. Not just stolen moments and secret meetings. What about your world? The danger? I can't expose Lily to that. She'd be protected, always. And he took a breath. I'm working on something. A way to transition out of the more dangerous parts of the business. To make the Salvatore empire legitimate. It will take time, but I want to try for you, for us. For the future, I want to build with you. You do that? Change your entire life. For you? I'd do anything. I tilted my head up to look at him. In the moonlight streaming through the windows, he looked younger. More vulnerable. Like the man he could have been if life had been different. Then let's take it one day at a time, I said. I'm not ready to move in. I'm not ready to upend Lily's life. But I'm ready to see where this goes. To build something together, slowly. Slowly, he agreed, though I could hear the impatience in his voice. I can do slowly. As long as I know you're mine. I'm yours. Say it again. I'm yours, Dante Salvatore. Completely. He kissed me again, and we made love a second time slower now, more languid, savoring every touch and kiss. And when we finally fell asleep in each other's arms, I felt safer than I had in years, protected, cherished, loved. The world outside could be dangerous and complicated. But here in this moment, wrapped in Dante's arms, everything was simple. I loved him. He loved me. And somehow we'd find a way to make it work. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For a moment, I was disoriented. This wasn't my bed, my room, my life. Then I remembered Dante. I rolled over to find his side of the bed empty but still warm. The sheets smelled like him sandalwood and something uniquely masculine. I could hear sounds from downstairs, voices, movement, the clink of dishes. I found a robe draped over a chair silk, clearly expensive, probably left there for me. I put it on and padded barefoot into the hallway. The Salvatore mansion was even more beautiful in daylight. Sun poured through tall windows, highlighting artwork and architectural details I'd missed in the evening. I followed the sound of voices to a large kitchen that looked like something from a magazine. Marble countertops, professional-grade appliances, a breakfast nook overlooking the garden. Dante stood at the counter, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair slightly mussed from sleep. He was talking in rapid Italian with an older woman who was cooking something that smelled incredible. When he saw me, his entire face transformed. The serious mafia boss vanished, replaced by a man who looked at me like I was the sunrise. Buongiorno, tesoro, he said, crossing to me immediately. He kissed me gently, his hands settling on my waist. Did you sleep well? Better than I have in years. Good, come, sit. Valentina is making breakfast. She's been with my family since I was a child. Valentina, questo e Claire. The woman I told you about. The older woman turned and I saw kind eyes and a weathered face. She said something in Italian, beaming, then came over to embrace me warmly. She says she's happy to finally meet you, Dante translated. She was beginning to think I made you up. Tell her I'm happy to meet her too. They spoke back and forth in Italian and I caught my name several times along with words I didn't recognize. Finally, Valentina patted my cheek affectionately and returned to her cooking. She likes you, Dante said, pulling out a chair for me at the breakfast nook. That's rare. Valentina is very protective of me. She doesn't trust easily. What did you tell her about me? The truth, that you're a librarian. That you're brave and kind. That you make me want to be better. That I love you. He said it simply as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Valentina returned with plates frittata with vegetables, fresh bread, sliced fruit. She poured coffee from an elaborate machine, said something else in Italian that made Dante laugh, then left us alone. She says you're too skinny, he translated. That I need to feed you better. She's already planning elaborate meals. I like her. She likes you? That's significant. She was my mother's best friend. Almost a second mother to me after we lost her. If Valentina approves, it means something. We ate breakfast together, and it felt domestic in a way I'd never experienced. Easy, natural, as if we'd been doing this for years instead of one night. What's your plan for today? He asked. Pick up Lily from her sleepover, do laundry, maybe catch up on reading. Very exciting stuff. Would you like company for the boring parts? I smiled. Are you offering to help with my laundry? I'm offering to spend time with you. The laundry is just an excuse. Dante Salvatore, ruthless mafia boss, does laundry. The headlines write themselves. Only for you, Tesoro. Only ever for you. My phone buzzed, Lily texting that she was ready to be picked up. Reality crashed back in, reminding me that this beautiful bubble we'd created had to coexist with my real life. I should go, I said reluctantly. I know, but he looked just as reluctant. Anthony will drive you. My car is already at your apartment? I had someone bring it over this morning. Of course he did. He walked me upstairs to his room where my dress from last night was hanging, freshly pressed. My shoes sat beside it, polished. Even my purse had been brought up. You have a staff that thinks of everything, I said. I have a staff that knows how important you are to me. He pulled me close, resting his forehead against mine. Last night was everything, Claire. Thank you for trusting me, for letting me love you. Thank you for being someone I can trust, someone I can love. We kissed goodbye, long and lingering and full of promises. Then he walked me down to where Anthony waited with the Mercedes. The drive back to my apartment felt like returning from a fairy tale. The real world rushed back in bills to pay, responsibilities to handle, a sister to care for. But now it was all colored by what I'd found with Dante. Hope, love, possibility. Anthony dropped me off outside my building. I waved goodbye and headed upstairs, already mentally preparing for Lily's interrogation about my hot date. But when I opened my apartment door, I froze. Lily was there, but she wasn't alone. A man sat on our couch, tall, blonde, with cold blue eyes and a smile that made my skin crawl. He had his arm draped casually over Lily's shoulders, and she looked terrified. Hello, Claire, the man said in a thick Russian accent. So nice to finally meet you. I am Victor Kozlov. And you and I need to have a conversation about Dante Salvatore. My heart stopped. Then it started again, hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. Lily's eyes were wide with terror, silently pleading with me. Her hands were clenched in her lap, knuckles white. The man Victor Kozlov had his arm draped over her shoulders like they were old friends, but the threat was unmistakable. Let her go. My voice came out steadier than I expected. Years of dealing with difficult library patrons had taught me to mask fear with authority. Whatever you want, she has nothing to do with it. Victor smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. But she has everything to do with it, Claire. May I call you Claire? You see, your sister is leverage. Beautiful word, leverage. It means I have something you want and you have something I want. We make trade, duh? What do you want? Information. About your lover. About Dante Salvatore. He said Dante's name like it was poison. He has been very difficult lately, not answering calls. Not coming to meetings, breaking agreements. Very unprofessional. I don't know anything about his business. No? Victor's fingers tightened slightly on Lily's shoulder, making her flinch. I saw red. Then perhaps you'd tell me other things. Where he goes, who he sees, his routines, his weaknesses. I'm not telling you anything. I took a step forward. Get your hands off my sister. Or what? You'll call police? Victor laughed. Please, call them. I would very much enjoy watching them try to arrest me. My lawyers are very good. Very expensive. I would be out before paperwork is finished. My hand moved toward my pocket where the phone Dante had given me waited. The panic button. Press and hold for 3 seconds. I wouldn't do that, Victor said pleasantly. My associate outside has very good aim. If I don't walk out of this apartment in next 5 minutes, perfectly safe, he shoots. And bullets travel through walls very easily in buildings this old. Lily whimpered. I forced myself to stop moving. Good, smart girl. Victor leaned back, looking around our modest apartment with disdain. You live like this? When your boyfriend has mansion? When he has money to buy buildings? This is what he gives you? Sad. I don't want his money. No? Then what do you want? I want you to leave now. Before you make a mistake you can't take back. Victor's smile widened. Mistake? Oh, Claire, sweet, naive Claire. You think I'm afraid of Dante Salvatore? You think he frightens me? He stood, pulling Lily up with him. She stumbled, tears streaming down her face. He is weak. He has always been weak. His father knew it. That's why Giovanni tried so hard to make him hard. To beat softness out of him, but it didn't work, did it? Your Dante still has conscience. Still has rules. Still cares about innocence. He said the last word with contempt. And you? I asked, trying to keep him talking. Trying to buy time. You don't care about innocence? I care about power, about expansion, about taking what should be mine. The Salvatores have controlled this city for too long. Time for new management. So this is a power play. You're using me to get to Dante. Finally, she understands. Yes, exactly. I take you. He comes for you. My men are waiting. We finish this war once and for all. He pulled Lily toward the door. Come, both of you. We take little drive. No, I didn't move. You can take me, leave Lily. She's 16. She's innocent. She has nothing to do with any of this. Victor paused, considering. You would trade yourself? For little sister? Yes. Claire, no. Lily's voice broke. Don't. It's okay, Lil, I said, my eyes never leaving Victor's. It's going to be okay. I promise. Victor studied me for a long moment, then smiled. You are braver than you look. I see why Dante likes you. Very well. Trade accepted. You come quietly, sister stays. But he held up a finger. If you try anything, if you use that fancy phone Dante gave you, if you make any trouble at all, I send men back for her, and they will not be as gentle as I am. Understood? Understood. He released Lily, shoving her toward the couch. She stumbled, catching herself on the coffee table. Smart choice, Claire. Now your phone. The one from Dante. Give it to me. I pulled it from my pocket slowly. Victor snatched it, examined it with professional interest, then smashed it against the wall. The expensive device shattered into pieces. There, now no panic button. No rescue, just you and me in very informative conversation. He gestured toward the door. After you. I looked at Lily one more time. Called Jess's mom. Tell her you're staying there a few more days. Don't tell anyone what happened here, not the police. Not anyone. Just stay with Jess and wait for me to come home. Okay? Claire. Promise me, Lily. Promise me you'll stay safe. I promise, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Victor grabbed my arm, his grip iron strong. Touching, very touching. Now move. He pulled me toward the door. I went without resistance, my mind already racing through possibilities. How long before Dante noticed I was missing? How long before Anthony realized something was wrong? How long before the door opened and we stepped into the hallway? And that's when everything exploded. The window at the end of the hallway shattered inward. Men in black tactical gear poured through, weapons drawn. Victor cursed in Russian, reaching for a gun I hadn't realized he was carrying. Down! someone shouted. Get down! I dropped to the floor, covering my head. Gunfire erupted loud and terrifying and impossibly close. Victor returned fire, using the doorframe as cover. I heard Lily screaming from inside the apartment. Then strong hands grabbed me, pulling me backward. I looked up into Anthony's face. Come on, Ms. Bennett, we need to move. Lily, already secure. Marco has her. Move. He half-carried, half-dragged me down the hallway toward the emergency stairs. Behind us, the gunfire intensified. More of Victor's men must have been waiting in the building, more of Dante's men engaging them. We burst into the stairwell and Anthony pulled me down the stairs at a run. My legs could barely keep up. We descended 4 flights in what felt like seconds, then pushed through the ground floor exit into the underground parking garage. A black SUV waited, engine running. The back door flew open and Dante emerged. The relief on his face when he saw me was quickly replaced by fury. Get her in the car now. Anthony pushed me toward the vehicle. I climbed in and Dante followed immediately, pulling me into his arms. Are you hurt? Did he touch you? Christo, Claire, I thought... His voice broke. I thought I lost you. I'm okay. Lily, Marco has her. She's safe. I swear it. The SUV peeled out of the garage, tires screaming. Through the window, I could see more vehicles pulling at more of Dante's men, reinforcements. This wasn't just a rescue. This was war. How did you know? I asked. How did you get there so fast? I had men watching your building, always. When Anthony dropped you off, they reported unusual activity. Strange cars. Men taking positions. I was already on my way when they confirmed Victor was inside. His hands cupped my face, tilting it up to meet his eyes. I would have torn the city apart to find you. Do you understand? I would have burned it all down. I believe you. He kissed me desperately, as if reassuring himself I was real. I'm sorry. This is my fault. I should have anticipated this, should have protected you better. You did protect me. You saved me. Not fast enough. He got to you. He touched you. He threatened you. Each word came out like broken glass. I'm going to kill him for that. Slowly. The violence in his voice should have frightened me. Instead, I felt only relief. Because I absolutely knew that Dante would keep me safe. Would keep Lily safe, no matter what it cost. Where are we going? I asked. Somewhere secure. Somewhere Victor can't reach. My family has a compound outside the city. Fully fortified, armed guards. No one gets in or out without my permission. For how long? His jaw tightened. Until this is finished. Until Victor Kozlov is no longer a threat. You mean until he's dead? Yes. He didn't try to soften it. I mean until he's dead. This ends tonight, Claire. One way or another. The SUV merged onto the expressway, heading north out of Chicago. I looked back at the city skyline, wondering if I'd ever see my apartment again, my job, my normal life. But that life was already gone, wasn't it? The moment I picked up that bookmark, the moment I'd let Dante into my heart. There was no going back now, only forward into whatever darkness awaited. The compound was exactly what Dante had described, a fortress disguised as an estate. High walls topped with cameras and sensors. Guard towers at each corner. Men with rifles patrolling the perimeter. This wasn't just security. This was preparation for war. We pulled through heavy gates that closed immediately behind us. The main house was massive, built of stone and steel, designed to withstand attack. Beautiful in a cold military way. Dante helped me out of the SUV, his hand never leaving mine. Come on, let's get you inside. The interior was surprisingly warm wood floors, comfortable furniture, artwork on the walls. It felt lived in, unlike the showcase perfection of his Gold Coast mansion. My father built this during the wars with the Irish, back in the 90s, Dante explained. It's been updated since then. Everything you can need is here. Food, clothing, medical supplies. We can survive a siege if necessary. Is that what you're expecting? A siege? I'm expecting Victor to be stupid enough to try. His voice had gone cold. Dangerous. And when he does, we'll be ready. A door opened and Marco appeared, leading Lily by the hand. My sister looked pale and shaken but unhurt. She ran to me immediately and I caught her in a tight embrace. Are you okay? I asked, pulling back to examine her. Did anyone hurt you? No, Marco got there right after the shooting started. He grabbed me and ran. We went down the fire escape. She looked up at Dante with a mixture of fear and awe. You're him. The guy Claire's been seeing. The one with the flowers. I am, Dante said, his voice gentling. My name is Dante, and I'm very sorry you were put in danger because of me. You saved us, Lily said quietly. Those men, they would have killed us. They would have tried. But I would never have let that happen. He looked at me, his eyes intense. Never. Valentina appeared from a hallway, speaking rapid Italian and gesturing at Lily. Dante responded, and the older woman's expression softened. She approached Lily with a warm smile, saying something I didn't understand, but that sounded kind. Valentina says you must be hungry, Dante translated. She wants to feed you. Trust me, it's easier to just say yes. Lily looked at me for permission. I nodded. Go ahead. I'll be right here. Valentina led Lily away toward what I assumed was the kitchen. Marco followed, and I noticed the way he stayed close to my sister. Protective. Once they were gone, Dante pulled me into his arms. I need to go, he said quietly. I need to end this, tonight, before Victor has a chance to regroup. You're going after him. Yes. Alone? With my men. The best fighters in my organization, we know where his headquarters is. We'll hit him hard and fast, before he expects it. What if something goes wrong? What if I couldn't finish the sentence. Then Anthony knows what to do. He'll keep you and Lily safe. He'll get you out of the city, set you up somewhere new. You'll be taken care of. I don't want to be taken care of. I want you to come back. I will. I promise, Tesoro. I will come back to you. He kissed me, long and deep and desperate. Like it might be the last time. The thought made my chest tighten with fear. Don't go, I whispered against his lips. Let someone else handle it. You don't have to be the one. I do. This is my responsibility. My war. My family. His hands cupped my face. And you're my family now, too. You and Lily. I protect what's mine. Dante, I love you, Claire Bennett, more than I've ever loved anything. More than this business, this family, this life. You made me remember what it feels like to be human. To want something besides power and revenge. He rested his forehead against mine. So I need you to trust me. Trust that I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe. Even if it means doing terrible things. I know you will. That's what scares me. Don't be scared. Be angry. Be furious that Victor threatened you. Use that. Hold on to it. Because when I come back, and I will come back, we're going to build something new, something better. I promised you I'd try to leave this world behind, and I will. But first, I have to make sure there's no one left who would hurt you. He kissed me one more time, then pulled away. Anthony will stay with you. So will Marco and 6 other men. This place is impenetrable. You're safe here. It's not me I'm worried about. I know, Tesoro. I know. He walked toward the door and I watched him go, memorizing every detail. The way he moved. The set of his shoulders. The confidence in his stride. At the door, he paused and looked back. I'll see you soon, he said. And when I do, we're going to talk about that future I want with you. The house. The life. All of it. I'll be here. Good, that's good. Then he was gone, and I was left alone in the stone fortress, waiting for a war one couldn't fight to determine my future. The hours crawled by with agonizing slowness. Valentina fed us pasta with homemade sauce, fresh bread, tiramisu for dessert. Comfort food that did little to comfort. Lily picked at her plate, her eyes distant. Are you okay? I asked softly. I don't know, everything feels surreal like a movie. Men with guns. Secret compounds. Dante. She looked at me. He's not just your boyfriend, is he? He's something more, something dangerous. I couldn't lie to her anymore. He's part of a world I never expected to be part of. A world with violence and danger, but he's also the man who saved our lives today. Who's protecting us right now? I took a breath. Who I love. You love him? Really? Really was quiet for a moment. Does he love you? He says he does. And I believe him. Then I guess that's what matters. She reached across the table, taking my hand. I was so scared today, Claire. When that man grabbed me, when I thought he might hurt you, I've never been that scared. I know. I'm sorry you had to go through that. It's not your fault. It's not even Dante's fault, really. It's that Victor guy. He's the monster here. She was right. Victor had started this. Had threatened us. Had tried to use us as weapons against Dante, and now Dante was going to finish it. Around midnight, Anthony appeared. Mr. Salvatore wanted me to update you. They've engaged Victor's forces at his headquarters. The fighting is intense, but we have the advantage. Casualties? I asked, my voice hollow. 3 of our men injured. None dead. Victor's side has lost more. And Dante? Unharmed. Leading from the front as always. I closed my eyes, relief and fear warring inside me. He was alive, for now. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted by the day's trauma. I covered her with a blanket, then moved to the window. Outside, I could see guards patrolling, their breath-forming clouds in the cold autumn air. This was Dante's world. Violence and protection in equal measure, men willing to die for him. Enemies willing to kill him. Could I really live in this world? Could I raise Lily in it? But even as I asked the questions, I knew the answer. I didn't have a choice anymore. I loved him. And love meant accepting all of him, the darkness and the light, the violence and the gentleness. I just had to trust he'd come back to me. The night wore on. 1 a.m. became 2, then 3. Anthony provided updates every hour the fighting had moved to Victor's secondary locations. They were dismantling his entire organization, systematically, ruthlessly. At 4:17 a.m., my phone rang. Not the destroyed one Dante had given me, but my personal cell. An unknown number. Hello? Claire. Dante's voice, rough with exhaustion. It's over. Victor is dead. His organization is scattered. It's done. Are you hurt? Minor injuries, nothing serious. I'm coming home now. To you. I'm here. We're here. I know, Tesoro. I always know where you are. He hung up and I stood there in the darkness holding my phone, feeling the weight of what he'd just done. He'd killed for me, gone to war for me. Destroyed an entire criminal organization to keep me safe. And he was coming back to me like it was the most natural thing in the world. Dawn was breaking when the SUVs pulled through the compound gates. I watched from the window as Dante emerged from the lead vehicle. Even from a distance, I could see he was exhausted. His shirt was torn and blood-stained. His knuckles were bruised, but he was alive. He was alive. I met him at the door and he pulled me into his arms immediately, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. It's done, he whispered into my hair. It's over. You're safe. Lily's safe. No one will threaten you again. I was so worried. I know, I'm sorry, but I had to finish it. Had to make sure. His voice broke. Had to make sure you could sleep at night without fear. I pulled back to look at him. His face was drawn with shadows under his eyes. A cut above his eyebrow was still bleeding slightly. But his eyes, those dark, intense eyes, were clear, determined. Come inside, I said. Let me clean you up. Valentina had prepared a room with medical supplies. I sat Dante down and began tending to his injuries, cleaning the cut on his forehead, bandaging his bruised knuckles, checking for serious damage. You should see a doctor, I said, noting a particularly nasty bruise on his ribs. I've had worse. That doesn't make me feel better. Claire, he caught my hand, stilling my movements. I'm okay, I promise. Nothing that won't heal. What happened with Victor? His expression hardened. We found him in his office. He tried to run. Tried to negotiate. Offered me money, territory, anything I wanted. But there was only one thing I wanted. What? His life. For threatening yours. He said it simply, without remorse. And I realized this was who he was, a man who protected fiercely and punished ruthlessly. A man who loved completely and destroyed thoroughly. I should be horrified, I said quietly. I should be terrified of you. But you're not. No, because I know you did it for me, for Lily, for our safety. And as much as I want to believe in peaceful solutions and second chances, I can't argue with the fact that as long as Victor lived, we were in danger. You understand me. He said it with wonder. You actually understand me. I'm trying to. He pulled me onto his lap, careful of his injuries. I meant what I said earlier about our future. About building something new. I've already started the process transferring operations to people I trust. moving money into legitimate businesses, establishing distance between myself and the violent parts of the organization. That will take time. Years, probably. But I'll do it. For you. For the life I want with you. What about your family? Your obligations? My family will adapt. The Salvatores have always been survivors. We'll survive this transition too. And my obligations? He cupped my face. My primary obligation now is to you. To keeping you safe and happy. To being the man you deserve. I don't need you to be perfect. Dante, I just need you to be honest. Then here's my honesty. I love you more than anything in this world. I want to marry you. I want to give you the life you've been denied: safety, comfort, the freedom to pursue your dreams instead of just surviving. I want to watch Lily graduate from college. I want to have children with you. I want to grow old with you, arguing about what books to read and what wine to drink, and whether the pasta is overcooked. Tears burned behind my eyes. That's very specific. I've thought about it a lot, about what our life could look like. About all the ordinary, beautiful moments we could have together if you'll let me. I want that too. All of it, but Dante, I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll try to choose peace over violence when you can. That you'll look for solutions that don't involve bloodshed first. I know it's not always possible in your world, but promise me you'll try. He was quiet for a long moment, his thumb tracing my cheekbone. I promise. For you, I'll try to be better, to find another way. It won't always work. There will be times when violence is unavoidable. But I swear I'll try. That's all I ask. He kissed me, and this time it was different. Not desperate or urgent. Just loving. A promise sealed with a kiss. When we pulled apart, the sun was fully up, painting the room in golden light. Come on, he said, standing and pulling me with him. Let's go check on Lily, and then I'm going to sleep for about 12 hours with you in my arms. That sounds perfect. Found Lily in the kitchen with Valentina and Marco. They were making breakfast together, Lily laughing at something Marco had said. She looked relaxed, safe. Like a normal teenager instead of someone who'd been threatened at gunpoint yesterday. When she saw Dante, her expression turned serious. She walked over, looked him up and down, then said, "Thank you. For saving us, for everything." Dante seemed taken aback. "You don't need to thank me. Protecting you is your job, I know. Because you love Claire and I'm her sister, so by extension you protect me too." "I get it. But still." "Thank you. You're welcome, Lily." He looked at me. "Your sister is very smart." "I can see the resemblance." Lily grinned. "I like him, Claire. He can stay. Good to know I have your approval." We ate breakfast as a strange makeshift family, the mafia boss, the librarian, the teenage sister, the elderly cook, and the young enforcer. It should have been awkward. Instead, it felt right. After breakfast, Dante and I retreated to his room. He showered, washing away the blood and dirt of the night's violence. When he emerged, wearing only sweatpants, I could see the full extent of his injuries, bruises blooming across his ribs and back, cuts and scrapes on his arms. "Come here," I said, patting the bed beside me. He lay down and I curled against him, careful of his injuries. His arm came around me, holding me close. "I was terrified I'd lose you," I whispered. "That you'd go after Victor and never come back. I'll always come back to you, Tesoro, always. Even death wouldn't keep me from you." "Don't talk about death. Then let's talk about life." "Our life. What do you want, Claire? Really want?" "Not what you think you should want or what's practical. What does your heart want?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to see Lily graduate and go to college. I want to keep working at the library, at least for now. I want Sunday dinners with your family. I want to visit Italy and see your vineyard. I took a breath. I want to marry you, have children with you. Build a life that's ours, not defined by violence or fear. You'll have all of it," he promised. "Every single thing you want." "I swear it." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I've never wanted anything as much as I want you. And when I want something, I make it happen. No matter what it takes." He said it with such certainty that I believed him. We lay there together as the morning sun climbed higher, talking about our future. About the house we'd buy big enough for Lily to have her own wing, with a library for me and an office for him. About the wedding small and intimate, just family and close friends. About children, he wanted 3, I wanted 2. We compromised on seeing what happened. We talked until our words became murmurs, and murmurs became silence, and silence became sleep. And for the first time in 3 years, I slept without nightmares. Without fear. Just peaceful, dreamless sleep in the arms of a man who would burn the world down to keep me safe. I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of rain against the windows. For a moment, I was disoriented. This wasn't my apartment, my bed, my life. Then I felt Dante's warmth beside me, his arms still draped protectively over my waist, and I remembered. Everything had changed. I turned carefully, not wanting to wake him, and studied his face in the gray afternoon light. He looked younger in sleep. The harsh lines of command and violence softened. There was a vulnerability to him like this, unguarded, peaceful. It made my heart ache. How had this happened? How had I gone from quiet librarian to the woman who loved a mafia boss in less than a month? But I knew the answer. It had started with a bookmark and my address written in elegant script. It had grown with every protective gesture, every intense look, every moment he'd show me the man beneath the monster. Dante stirred, his eyes opening slowly. When he saw me watching him, a slow smile spread across his face. "Buongiorno, tesoro," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep. "How long have you been awake? Not long?" "It's raining. I can hear." He pulled me closer, burying his face in my hair. "I love the rain. It reminds me of the night we met. When I watched you from across the street, soaking wet but refusing to give up your vigil for that homeless man. You were watching me even then?" "I was. I couldn't look away. You were like light in the darkness, literally and figuratively. The street lamp made your hair glow, and you stood there in the rain, this tiny figure defending someone who couldn't defend himself. I knew then that I was in trouble. Why trouble? Because I wanted you, immediately, completely, and I knew that wanting you would change everything." He pulled back to look at me. I was right. "You've changed everything, Claire. My entire world is shifted on its axis because of you. Is that a good thing?" "The best thing that's ever happened to me." His phone buzzed on the nightstand, the first interruption since we'd fallen asleep. He grabbed it, read the message, and sighed. "Anthony, checking in. Apparently I've been asleep for 14 hours and people are starting to worry I've died. Have you eaten? Since before the attack?" "Not really. Some coffee, maybe a granola bar." "Dante, you need to eat." I know. Valentina will kill me if she finds out." "Come on, let's get food before she stages an intervention." We dressed and headed downstairs. The compound felt different in daylight, less fortress, more home. I could hear voices from the kitchen, laughter, and the clatter of dishes. When we entered, we found Lily sitting at the kitchen island, helping Valentina roll fresh pasta. Marco stood nearby, watching with obvious interest, though whether his interest was in the pasta or in Lily was unclear. "There he is," Valentina said in heavily accented English, switching from Italian for my benefit. "The man who thinks he can fight wars on empty stomach. Sit, eat, now." Dante obeyed without argument, settling onto a stool beside Lily. I sat next to him, and Valentina immediately began serving thick slices of bread with olive oil and herbs. Antipasto with meats and cheeses, pasta with a sauce that smelled like heaven. "Your sister is natural," Valentina told me, gesturing at Lily. "Very good hands for pasta. I teach her my Nona's recipe." "Family secret." "I'm honored," Lily said, smiling. She looked more relaxed than I'd seen her since yesterday. The normalcy of cooking seemed to be helping. Valentina's been telling me stories about when Dante was little. "Did you know he used to steal cookies from the kitchen and blame it on the family dog?" "We didn't have a dog," Dante said dryly. "My father knew I was lying." "What did he do?" I asked. Dante's expression darkened slightly. "Made me eat the entire batch, all 47 cookies. I was sick for 2 days. Never stole from the kitchen again." The story was told lightly, but I heard the undertone. Heard what he wasn't saying about a father who ruled through fear and harsh lessons. "Your father?" I said carefully. "What was he like, really?" Dante was quiet for a moment, his fingers tracing patterns on the marble countertop. Finally, he spoke. "Giovanni Salvatore was complicated. He was brilliant, strategic, ruthless when necessary, but also deeply honorable in his own way. He had rules, codes he never broke. No drugs, no prostitution. No harming civilians. The Salvatores protect people in our territory, not prey on them. That's where you get it from. Your protective instincts, maybe, but he was also hard, cold sometimes. He lost his father and my grandfather when he was only 21. Murdered by rivals. It changed him. Made him paranoid, suspicious. He trusted no one completely except my mother. Tell me about her, I said softly. Your mother. His expression softened immediately. Isabella Salvatore. She was everything good in my father's world. Kind, compassionate, beautiful inside and out. She ran charities, helped families in the neighborhood, made sure everyone had food during holidays. The community loved her. How did she die? Cancer. Pancreatic. By the time they caught it, it was stage 4. She had maybe 6 months, lived for 8, fighting every day. My father spent millions trying to save her, the best doctors, experimental treatments, everything. Nothing worked. He stopped, his jaw clenching. Valentina came over, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder and saying something soft in Italian. Valentina was with her at the end, Dante continued. When the pain got too bad, when the morphine stopped working. My mother made me promise something before she died. What? To find love, real love. Not a marriage of convenience or political alliance like so many in our world. She wanted me to find someone who saw me, really saw me, and loved me anyway. Someone who would be my light when the darkness got too heavy. He turned to look at me, his eyes intense. I think she'd like you, Tesoro. I think she'd be happy I found you. Tears burned behind my eyes. I wish I could have met her. Me too. She would have loved you. Would have adopted you and Lily immediately, fed you too much food, and given me endless advice about how to treat you properly. Lily had stopped rolling pasta, listening intently. My mom was like that too, she said quietly. Always feeding people. Always making sure everyone was okay. She looked at me. Remember how she used to make lasagna every Sunday? And she'd invite the neighbors over, even the ones who barely spoke English? I remember, I said, my voice thick with emotion. She said food was love. That sharing a meal was the best way to tell someone they mattered. Your parents, Dante said. Tell me about them. I know what happened, but I want to know who they were, so I told him. About my father, who'd been a high school history teacher with a passion for ancient Rome and a terrible sense of humor. About my mother, who'd worked as a nurse and came home exhausted but always had time to help with homework or bandage skinned knees. I told him about Sunday dinners and family road trips and the way my parents would dance in the kitchen while making breakfast. About how my father proposed to my mother on their first date. She said no, but he kept asking once a month for 2 years until she finally said yes. I told him about the accident. How they'd been driving home from a wedding. How the drunk driver ran a red light at 70 miles an hour. How they died instantly, the police assured us, without pain. I told him about becoming a guardian at 25, terrified and overwhelmed but determined to keep Lily safe and happy. About the insurance money that barely covered funeral costs and the first year's rent. About learning to be both sister and parent, never quite feeling adequate for either role. By the time I finished, everyone was crying. Even Marco, trying to hide it by turning away to wipe his eyes. Valentina came around the island and pulled both me and Lily into a fierce hug, speaking rapid Italian that I didn't understand but felt in my bones words of comfort, of solidarity, of family. You are not alone anymore, Dante said quietly. Either of you, you have me, you have my family. You have people who will protect you and care for you and make sure you never have to face anything alone again. That's a big promise, I said. It's the only promise that matters. The rest of the afternoon passed in comfortable domesticity. Lily finished making pasta with Valentina while Marco provided running commentary that made everyone laugh. Dante made business calls in his office, checking on the aftermath of last night's war. And I explored the compound, familiarizing myself with what might become my new normal. The library was my favorite discovery, 3 stories of books in English, Italian, and several other languages I didn't recognize. First editions, rare volumes, popular novels. Someone in the Salvatore family clearly shared my love of literature. I was examining a particularly beautiful edition of Petrarch's sonnets when Dante found me. This was my mother's collection, he said, coming to stand behind me. She taught me to read in English and Italian simultaneously. Said that limiting yourself to one language was limiting your soul. She sounds wonderful. She was. She used to sit in this room for hours reading, sometimes aloud. Even after she got sick, even when she could barely hold a book, she'd have someone bring her here. Said the books made her feel less alone. He pulled a volume from the shelf, a worn copy of Dante's Divine Comedy, the same edition that had been in the library that first night. He opened it to a marked page and read aloud. His Italian smooth and beautiful. Nel mezzo del cammin di nostra vita mi ritrova per una salva oscura, che la derita via iris marita. What does it mean? In the middle of the journey of our life, I found myself in a dark wood, for the straight way was lost. He looked at me. I was lost, Claire. For so long, wandering in darkness, trying to find my way, and then I found you. My straight way. My light out of the dark wood. That's beautiful. And incredibly romantic for a mafia boss. I contain multitudes. But he was smiling. Come here, I want to show you something. He led me to a section of the library I hadn't explored yet, a reading nook tucked behind the stacks, with a window seat overlooking the gardens. The cushions were worn, clearly well used. This was my mother's favorite spot. She'd sit here with hot chocolate and read for hours. After she died, I couldn't come in here for a year. Too painful, but eventually I started reading here too. Trying to feel close to her. Trying to understand what she loved about it. And did you? Understand? Yes, it's peaceful here. Quiet. The rest of the world disappears. It's just you and the story, and nothing else matters. He pulled me onto the window seat beside him. I want you to use this room, Tesoro. Read here. Make it yours. Add your books to the collection. I think my mother would like that. Would like knowing her favorite place was being loved again. I'd be honored. We sat there together, watching the rain fall in the garden, and I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just Dante's world anymore. It was becoming mine too. Our world. A space we were creating together from the fragments of our separate past. I need to tell you something, Dante said eventually, about what happened last night. The full truth. My stomach tightened. Okay, Victor didn't die in the fight. We captured him. Brought him to one of our warehouses. His voice had gone flat, emotionless. I wanted him to understand what he'd done, what he tried to take from me. So I made him watch while we dismantled everything he built. Every business, every territory, every alliance. I made him watch it all burn, Dante, and then I killed him. Not quickly, not cleanly. I wanted him to suffer the way he made you suffer. The way he made me suffer, thinking I might lose you. He turned to look at me, his eyes dark with barely controlled violence. I need you to know that, to understand who I am. What I'm capable of when someone threatens what's mine. I should have been horrified. Should have been running for the door, calling the police, putting as much distance between myself and this man as possible. Instead, I cupped his face with both hands. I know who you are, Dante Salvatore. I know you're capable of violence. I know you've done terrible things. But I also know you're capable of love, of tenderness, of fighting through hell to protect the people you care about. And I love you. All of you. The darkness and the light. How can you love me, knowing what I've done? Because I see why you did it. Because I understand that in your world, mercy is often seen as weakness. Because you didn't want to hurt him, you wanted to protect me. There's a difference. Is there? Or am I just making excuses for being a monster? You're not a monster. Monsters don't feel remorse. Monsters don't want to be better. Monsters don't fall in love with librarians and quote Italian poetry. A broken laugh escaped him. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. I love you. You love me. Everything else is just details we'll figure out together. He kissed me then, desperate and grateful and full of emotion. I don't deserve you, he whispered against my lips. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. We stayed in the library until dinner, reading and talking and simply being together. It felt normal, domestic, like we'd been doing this for years instead of days. Dinner that night was a family affair. Valentina had prepared a feast, multiple courses, each more delicious than the last. The dining room filled with conversation and laughter as more of Dante's people joined us. There was Anthony, of course, ever professional but relaxing slightly in this environment. Marco, who'd appointed himself Lily's unofficial guardian and entertainer, and 3 others I hadn't met yet. Claire, Lily, let me introduce you properly to my family. Dante said, gesturing around the table. You know Anthony and Marco. This is my uncle Thomas Salvatore. My father's younger brother. Thomas was an older version of Dante's same dark eyes. Same strong features, but with gray in his hair and laugh lines around his eyes. Please call me Tom, and welcome to our family, both of you. It's good to see Dante smile again. We were starting to worry he'd forgotten how. Tom runs our legitimate businesses, Dante explained. Restaurants, real estate, import-export. He's been helping me plan the transition. Someone has to keep this family respectable, Tom said with a grin. God knows it won't be these young ones. And this, Dante continued, gesturing to a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and elegant bearing, is Sophia Russo, my father's cousin and our family lawyer. Best legal mind in Chicago. Best legal mind anywhere, Sophia corrected with a smile. And please call me Sophia. I've already reviewed your legal situation, clear guardianship papers for Lily, your parents' estate, everything. All in order, but I can help if you ever need anything. Thank you, I said, surprised and touched by the thoroughness. And finally, this is Father Michael. Dante indicated an older man in casual clothes, no collar, but something about him screamed priest. He's been counseling me for years, trying to save my soul. A losing battle, but I persist, Father Michael said with twinkling eyes. And please, just Michael here. The father is for church. Among friends, I'm just Michael. You're a priest? Lily asked, fascinated. For the mob? Lily? I hissed, mortified, but Michael just laughed. It's a fair question. Yes, I'm a priest. And yes, I minister to families like the Salvatores. Because they need God's grace just as much, maybe more than anyone else. Jesus didn't come for the righteous. He came for sinners. And we are certainly sinners, Dante said dryly. The conversation flowed from there, easy and warm. I learned that Tom had been married for 30 years to a woman named Catherine, who apparently ruled the family with gentle authority. That Sophia had 3 daughters, all in college, all brilliant. That Michael had grown up in the same neighborhood as Dante's father, had seen the violence firsthand, and had dedicated his life to offering another path. Tell them about the community center, Valentina urged, bringing out yet another course. It's nothing, Dante said, looking uncomfortable. It's not nothing, Tom insisted. Tell them, Dante sighed. After my mother died, I wanted to do something in her memory. She always said we had a responsibility to give back to the neighborhood. So I bought an old warehouse and converted it into a community center. Free after-school programs for kids. Job training for adults. English classes for immigrants. Medical clinic twice a week. He funds it entirely out of his own pocket, Sophia added. Refuses to let anyone else contribute. Says it's his responsibility. Because it is, Dante said. My family took from this community for generations. The least I can do is give something back. I stared at him, seeing yet another layer to this complicated man. How many kids use the center? About 200 regularly. More during summer. We have tutors, sports programs, art classes. Whatever they need. It's amazing, I said softly. Your mother would be proud. I hope so. He paused, seeming to struggle with something. I want to show it to you. Tomorrow maybe, if you'd like. I want you to see the good we're doing. Not just the violence. I'd love that. The dinner continued late into the evening. Stories were shared, wine was consumed, and I felt myself relaxing into this strange new family. They weren't what I'd expected, no dead bodies or bloody business discussions at the table. Just people who clearly cared about each other, looking out for one another. Around midnight, people started drifting away. Tom headed home to Catherine. Sophia had an early meeting. Michael had morning mass. Until it was just me, Dante, Lily, Marco, Anthony, and Valentina. Lily, Dante said, can I speak with you for a moment? Alone? Lily looked nervous but nodded. They disappeared into Dante's office, leaving me with Marco and Anthony. He's going to ask her permission, Anthony said. Permission for what? To be with you properly. To court you, as they used to say, he wants Lily's blessing. My heart melted. That's very traditional, very Italian. Very Dante. Anthony smiled. He takes family seriously. And she's your family, so she's his family now too. He won't proceed without her approval. 20 minutes later, they emerged. Lily was crying happy tears, I realized with relief. Dante looked lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. What did he say? I asked Lily. He said he loves you. That he wants to marry you someday. That he knows he's not good enough for you, but he's going to spend the rest of his life trying to be. That he'll protect both of us, make sure we have everything we need, and never let anyone hurt us again. She wiped her eyes. And he asked if I was okay with it. With him being part of our lives. And what did you say? I said yes, because I've never seen you this happy, Claire. Not since Mom and Dad died. And anyone who can make you smile like that. They're okay in my book. Dante came over, pulling me into his arms. I have her blessing, he murmured into my hair. Your sister has given me permission to love you. Properly. Completely. I never needed her permission for that. Maybe not. But I did. Family matters, tesoro. Her opinion matters. I need everyone you love to know I'm serious about this. About us. Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed and the compound had settled into quiet, Dante led me back to his room. But this time was different, slower, more intentional. He undressed me carefully, reverently, as if I was something precious. His hands traced every curve, every line, learning me all over again. And I did the same for him, exploring scars and tattoos, the stories written on his skin. This one, I said, tracing a long scar across his ribs. What happened? Knife fight when I was 19. Idiot kid from the Irish gang thought he could make a name for himself by taking out Giovanni's son. He was wrong. And this? A bullet wound on his shoulder. 2 years ago, the night my father died. I took a bullet meant for him, didn't matter. They got him anyway. I kissed the scar gently. I'm sorry. Don't be. He died the way he lived fighting. He wouldn't have wanted it any other way. His hands cupped my face. But I want different for us. I want to die old and fat and happy, surrounded by grandchildren, arguing with you about what to have for dinner. That's very specific. I've thought about it a lot. We made love slowly that night, taking our time, learning each other's bodies and rhythms. And afterwards, wrapped in his arms, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Complete, absolute peace. The next morning, Dante kept his promise. After breakfast, we drove into the city, just the two of us, with Anthony following in a separate vehicle for security. The community center was in one of Chicago's rougher neighborhoods, the kind of place I would have been nervous walking alone. But the building itself was beautiful, a restored warehouse with huge windows and fresh paint. A mural covered one wall, showing children of all backgrounds playing together. The kids painted that, Dante said as we parked. Part of our summer art program. Inside, the center was buzzing with activity. Kids of all ages filled the space, some doing homework at tables, others playing basketball in the gym, a group practicing violin in what looked like a music room. Everyone knew Dante. Kids ran up to him, showing him artwork or test scores. Teenagers gave him complicated handshakes. The staff greeted him warmly, clearly respecting him. Mr. D, a little girl, maybe 7, ran up and grabbed his hand. Come see what I drew. In a minute, Rosa. Let me introduce you to someone first. This is Claire. She's very special to me. Rosa studied me seriously, then smiled. You're pretty. Are you Mr. D's girlfriend? I am. Good, he needs someone to make him smile. He's too serious. Dante laughed a real laugh, full of genuine amusement. Rosa is our art critic. She has opinions about everything. We spent 2 hours at the center. I watched Dante help kids with homework, adjudicate arguments about basketball fouls, and discuss college plans with teenagers. This was a side of him I'd only glimpsed: the protector, the mentor, the man who wanted to build rather than destroy. You're good with them, I said as we watched a group of kids practice piano. They're good kids. Just need someone to believe in them, to give them opportunities. Most of them come from families like mine involved in things they shouldn't be. I want them to have choices I didn't. Your mother would be so proud. I hope so. I want to be worthy of her memory, of her belief in me. A woman approached, maybe 40, with kind eyes and tired shoulders. Mr. Salvatore, could I speak with you? Of course, Mrs. Chun. What's wrong? It's my husband. He owes money to bad people. They came to our apartment last night, said if he doesn't pay by Friday, they'll hurt our son. I don't know what to do. I thought maybe you could. I'll handle it, Dante said immediately. Give Anthony the details. The debt will be forgiven and no one will bother you again. You have my word. Thank you. Thank you so much. After she left, I looked at him questioningly. Loan sharks, he explained. Not ours, we don't do that business. But I can make them understand that people under my protection are off limits. You're going to pay her husband's debt? And have a conversation with the people he owes. A very clear conversation about boundaries and consequences. Is this what you mean by protecting the community? This is exactly what I mean. The Salvatores have power. We can use it to prey on people, or we can use it to protect them. My mother taught me that. My father sometimes forgot it. But I won't. We left the center as the afternoon light was fading. On the drive back to the compound, Dante was quiet, thoughtful. What are you thinking? I asked. About the future. About what I want our life to look like. I want to spend more time at the center, less time in warehouses and dark rooms. I want to build things instead of breaking them. That takes time and courage. I have time. And you give me courage. He glanced at me. Will you help me with the transition? You're good with people, with organization. The center needs someone to run the literacy program. Someone who understands books and learning and yes, I'll help. I'd love to help. His smile was brilliant. Really? Really. I can cut back hours at the library. Or maybe quit altogether if the center needs full-time help. It would be meaningful, working with kids who need it, building something good. You'd do that? Give up your job? It's not giving up. It's choosing something better. Something that matters more. He pulled the car over suddenly, parking on a side street. Then he turned to me, his eyes intense. Marry me, I blinked. What? Marry me, Claire. I know it's fast. I know we should wait, be sensible, have a long engagement. But I don't want to wait. I want to wake up every morning knowing you're mine. I want to make it official, legal, permanent. I kissed him, cutting off his rambling. When I pulled back, I was smiling. Yes? Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. Now stop freaking out and kiss me properly. He did. And it was perfect. When we finally broke apart, he was grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. We need a ring. And to plan a wedding. And tell Lily. And, Dante, breathe. We have time. I know, but I want to do this right. I want to give you everything you deserve. You already have. You've given me love and safety and a future I didn't think was possible. That's more than enough. It's not enough. It will never be enough. But I'll spend the rest of my life trying. We drove back to the compound in happy silence, hands linked across the center console. When we arrived, we found Lily in the library with Marco, both of them reading. Lily, Dante said. Can you come here for a second? She set down her book, looking between us curiously. What's up? I asked your sister to marry me. She said yes. And I wanted you to be the first to know. Officially. Lily's eyes went wide. You're getting married? We are, I confirmed. If you're okay with it? Okay with it? This is amazing. She hugged me tight, then Dante. Welcome to the family, I guess. Officially. Thank you, Lily. That means everything. Does this mean I can call you brother? Or is that weird? You can call me whatever you're comfortable with. Though I'd be honored to be your brother. The rest of the evening was celebration. Valentina cried and immediately started planning the menu for the wedding. Tom and Catherine came over, bringing champagne. Sophia talked about prenups. I said I didn't want one. Dante insisted I needed one. We compromised on something simple. Father Michael offered to perform the ceremony. And through it all, Dante never left my side. His hand found mine constantly, as if reassuring himself I was real, that this was real. That night, lying in bed together, he whispered, Thank you. For what? For seeing past the darkness, for loving me anyway, for giving me a reason to be better. You were always worthy of love, Dante. You just needed someone to remind you. Well, you've reminded me, every day. Every moment. You reminded me what it feels like to be human. To want something besides power and revenge. What do you want now? You, a life with you, kids with you, growing old with you. Simple things that seemed impossible a month ago. They're not impossible. They're our future. Our future, he repeated. I liked the sound of that. We fell asleep wrapped in each other, dreaming of weddings and babies and Sunday dinners. dreaming of a future built on love instead of fear. And for the first time in either of our lives, those dreams felt possible. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of planning and change. I gave notice at the library, my coworkers throwing me a surprise party that made me cry. I moved my things and Lily's to Dante's mansion, though we kept our apartment for another month, just in case. But there was no in case. This was real. This was permanent. Lily thrived in her new environment. She had her own wing of the mansion, as promised, decorated exactly how she wanted. She continued at St. Catherine's, but now she was driven by Anthony in a bulletproof Mercedes instead of taking the bus. Her grades improved. She smiled more. And she and Marco had become inseparable, though Dante and I both kept careful watch on that relationship, making sure it stayed age-appropriate and respectful. "They're just friends," Dante said one evening, watching them play video games in the media room. For now, I agreed. "But Marco looks at her like you look at me. God help him if he tries anything inappropriate. Dante, she's 16. He's 19. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing better happen. I've already had the talk with him. Twice." I laughed, imagining that conversation. "You're a good almost brother-in-law. I'm a paranoid, overprotective almost brother-in-law. Same thing." I started working at the community center full-time, running the literacy program just as Dante had suggested. It was rewarding in ways the library never had been, seeing kids light up when they finally understood a difficult passage, watching adults gain confidence as their reading improved. And I worked alongside Dante, seeing him in his element. Seeing the respect people had for him, not just fear, but genuine respect and affection. He was building something good here. Something that would outlast the violence and the blood. The wedding plans came together quickly. We decided on a small ceremony at the estate's private chapel, just family and close friends. Lily would be my maid of honor. Anthony would stand as Dante's best man. "I want to take you somewhere," Dante said one evening in early December. "A trip. Just the two of us." "Before the wedding. Where?" "Italy, Tuscany. I want to show you my family's vineyard." "Where my ancestors came from. Where?" He paused. "Where I want to take you on our honeymoon eventually. But first, I want you to see it. To understand all of me, including my roots. What about Lily? She stay here with Valentina and Catherine. Marco will protect her. She'd be perfectly safe, and it's only for a week. A week in Italy with you? How will I ever survive? By letting me feed you pasta and wine and love you in a villa that's been in my family for 200 years. When do we leave?" We flew to Italy 3 days later on Dante's private plane, because of course he had a private plane. The flight was long but comfortable, and I spent most of it curled against Dante, reading or talking or simply being together. We landed in Florence, then drove through the Tuscan countryside to the Salvatore vineyard. It was December, so the vines were bare, but the landscape was still beautiful, rolling hills, ancient stone buildings, olive groves stretching to the horizon. The villa was stunning. 3 stories of stone and tile with views of the vineyard from every window. Inside, it was warm and welcoming, family photos on the walls, well-worn furniture, a kitchen that smelled like bread and herbs. An elderly woman greeted us at the door, speaking rapid Italian and pulling Dante into a fierce hug. He responded in kind, then turned to me. "Claire, this is Nonna Maria, my father's aunt. She's run the vineyard since my grandfather died. Nonna Questeri Claire. La mia fidanzata. The woman I'm going to marry." Nonna Maria turned to me, her eyes bright with tears. She cupped my face with both hands, examining me closely, then said something in Italian that made Dante laugh. "She says you have kind eyes. That you'll be good for me. That it's about time I found a woman with sense to put up with our family. Tell her thank you. That I'm honored to meet her. We spent a week in Tuscany and it was magical." Dante showed me every inch of the vineyard, the cellars where wine aged in oak barrels, the tasting room where buyers sampled vintages, the small chapel where his grandparents were married. We walked through olive groves at sunset. We ate meals that lasted hours, with course after course of food and wine and laughter. We made love in the villa with windows open, cool December air mixing with the warmth of our bodies. And Dante told me stories. About his childhood summers here, running wild through the vineyard with cousins. About his grandfather who built the business from nothing. About his grandmother who could predict the weather by tasting the grapes. "This place," he said one evening as we watched the sun set over the hills, This is where I feel most like myself, not the boss. Not the heir, just Dante, a man who loves wine and sunsets and the woman in his arms. You can be that man in Chicago, too. I'm trying. With your help, I'm trying. On our last night, he took me to the small family cemetery on the property. We stood before the graves of his grandparents, his other ancestors, the Salvatores who had built this legacy. I want to be buried here, he said quietly, when my time comes. Not in Chicago, in some mausoleum. Here with my ancestors. With the vines and the olives and the land that made us. That's a long time away. I know. But I wanted you to know. To understand that this place matters to me. That when we bring our children here, and we will bring our children here, they'll know where they come from. The good and the bad. The violence and the beauty. They'll know they're loved. That's what matters most. He pulled out a small box from his pocket. I've been waiting for the right moment. I think this is it. He opened the box, revealing a ring vintage, beautiful with a single large diamond surrounded by smaller stones. This was my grandmother's. She gave it to my mother when she married my father. My mother gave it to me before she died, made me promise to give it to the woman I loved. The woman who would carry on the Salvatore name with grace and strength. Tears streamed down my face. Dante, I know we're already engaged, but I wanted to do this properly. In the place that matters most. With my ancestors as witnesses, he got down on one knee right there among the graves. Claire Bennett, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my light in the darkness? Will you help me build something good from the ashes of our past? Yes, I sobbed. Yes, yes, yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, a perfect fit, then stood and kissed me as the sun set over the Tuscan hills. We flew back to Chicago 2 days later, refreshed and ready. Ready for the wedding, ready for our new life together. The ceremony was on Christmas Eve in the chapel at the estate. Lily walked me down the aisle, both of us crying happy tears. Dante waited at the altar in a tuxedo, looking devastatingly handsome and completely terrified. Father Michael performed the ceremony, speaking about love and redemption and second chances. About two people from different worlds finding each other and choosing to build something new together. We exchanged vows we'd written ourselves. I promised to seem all of him and love him anyway. To stand beside him through darkness and light. To build a future worthy of his mother's memory. He promised to protect me, cherish me, and spend every day trying to be worthy of my love. To be the man his mother hoped he'd become. To love me and any children we had with everything he had. When Father Michael pronounced us husband and wife, Dante kissed me like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. The small gathering erupted in applause and cheers. We celebrated with dinner and dancing and champagne. Lily gave a toast that made everyone cry. Anthony gave a toast that made everyone laugh. And Dante gave a toast that made me fall in love with him all over again. To my wife, he said, raising his glass. Who saw a monster and chose to see a man. Who looked at darkness and found light. Who gave me a reason to be better, to do better, to live better. You are my miracle, tesoro. And I will spend the rest of my life grateful that you found my bookmark in that library. Later that night, in our room, officially our room now, as husband and wife, he made love to me with a tenderness that stole my breath. I love you, Mrs. Salvatore, he whispered. I love you too, Mr. Salvatore. How does it feel? Being married to a reformed mafia boss? Reformed? Reforming. Reforming. It's a process. It feels perfect. It feels like coming home. I stood in the community center's new wing, watching as kids poured through the doors for the grand opening. We'd expanded, significantly added computer labs, an art studio, a proper library. The Salvatore Foundation, as we'd officially named it, was funding programs across the city now. Dante came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. Happy? Deliriously. Good, because I have news. What kind of news? The kind that involves me officially stepping down as the head of the Salvatore organization. Tom is taking over day-to-day operations. I'm transitioning entirely to the foundation and our legitimate businesses. I turned in his arms. Really? You're sure? I'm sure. I want to spend my time building things, not destroying them. I want to go home to my wife every night without blood on my hands. I want... He paused, his hand moving to rest on my stomach. I want to be the kind of father our child deserves. I froze. How did you know? Know what? That I'm pregnant. His eyes went wide. You're pregnant? I found out this morning. Was going to tell you at dinner, but you kind of ruined the surprise. Christo, Claire, Tesoro, we're having a baby? We're having a baby. He kissed me breathless, then dropped to his knees, placing his hands on my still flat stomach. Hello, little one. This is your papa. I'm probably going to mess this up, but I promise I'll try my best. I'll protect you and love you and make sure you have every opportunity. And your mama... He looked up at me, eyes shining. Your mama is the best person I know. You're so lucky to have her. We're all lucky to have each other, I said, pulling him to his feet. Yes, we are. The ceremony began, speeches from community leaders, performances by kids in our programs, the official ribbon cutting. And through it all, Dante stayed by my side, his hand finding mine constantly. This was our life now. Building instead of destroying. Loving instead of fearing. Creating a legacy that Isabella Salvatore would be proud of. That night, back at home, we lay in bed together. Lily was at a friend's house staying over after seeing a movie. Marco had driven her, of course, ever the protective almost brother. Are you scared? I asked Dante. About being a father? Terrified. What if I mess it up? What if I can't protect them? What if you'll be amazing? You already are amazing with the kids at the center, with Lily, with me. Our baby will be so loved. They will, God, they will. I'm going to spoil them rotten. We're going to spoil them rotten. Are you happy, Claire? Really happy? I know this life isn't what you expected. The security, the scrutiny, all of it. I'm happier than I ever thought possible. I have you. I have Lily safe and thriving. I have work that matters, and now I placed his hand on my stomach. Now we're starting a family. How could I be anything but happy? I don't deserve you. Stop saying that. You deserve love and happiness just like everyone else, only because you love me. No, because you're a good man. Dante Salvatore, you were always a good man. You just needed someone to remind you. He pulled me close and we lay there in the darkness, dreaming about our future. About a baby with dark eyes and my smile. About Lily graduating college. About gray hair and grandchildren and growing old together. A future that seemed impossible a year ago when I picked up a bookmark with my address written on it. A future we were building together one day at a time. Tell me about tomorrow, I whispered, a ritual we'd started after the wedding. Tomorrow? We'll wake up together. Have breakfast with Lily. Go to the center and watch kids learn. Come home and make dinner. And we'll do it all again the next day and the next day and every day for the rest of our lives. Sounds perfect. It is perfect. Because you're in it. I fell asleep in his arms, safe and loved and completely at peace. My name was Claire Salvatore. I was a librarian who'd fallen in love with a mafia boss. And somehow, against all odds, we'd found our happily ever after. In the darkness and the light, together, always.